has. But I still think they do struggle at times defending bigger grounds. And it's a little bit of the SCG, but I reckon the MCG at times they've struggled defending that. And that's where the Suns can match them inside, and then they can, with their youthful legs, get outside them. And that's where they've been able to touch them up over the last 4 or 5 times. So I think it's going to be a great battle. You know, they're going to be wound up. Both teams are fit, hardened. It's going to be a really interesting concept to see how they go and how both tools go at either end.
I'm really interested to get your opinion, Matty and Jeff, about Buddy Franklin playing round 1 in an away game, which is essentially off Broadway. Simple as that. He's going to be managed throughout the year. How many games will you see him play? 10, 15, as many as he can manage? What do you see it?
I think the ones that are going to drain him are the Perth games, possibly Adelaide, depending on how it sort of goes. But
quick backups, Whitey.
What's that?
Quick backups from Friday
quick backs.
to yeah.
So avoiding all of those.
6-day turnarounds, stuff like that. He looked really good, really sharp in the pre-season.
Look,
he wasn't setting the world on fire, but that's it. You know, if you're looking strong, you're looking fit, your repeat efforts are there.
Yep.
That'll come. That all comes. You know.
And he straightens Sydney up like no other player. They retain the ball over 60% when he's the target inside 50 as well. Just the fact that he's playing tonight is exciting to me. It's round 1 on the Gold Coast, and one of the greatest players in history is in front of us.
Yeah, well, we're talking about Ben King. There's no Ben King's going to get the best defender.
Yep.
Yeah. What's Buddy going to get? He's going to get the best defender.
Get Sam Collins.
Correct.
And the handlebar.
Yeah. So that's what the players do. That's what they demand. That's their status. And I think the really big battle is going to be in the midfield tonight. Not saying that because Matty and I are both for Ruckman, and I'm not saying it's from, but the Suns midfielders have got really good youth, and Took Miller's a general in there. But they would look at the Sydney midfield and go, hey, we want to be like you guys. Yeah. You guys set the tone. You were the ones that got him into the grand final last year. We want to be like you. So we're going to hunt you. And I think that's what they're going to set themselves as a midfield group. That's what I reckon they're going to try and say, hey, that's the bar that we got to get to. If we want to play finals, we've got to beat you guys. And I reckon they'll be fired up to try and take them down. We
did mention the conditions. It's 26 degrees right now on the Gold Coast. The Bureau is saying it feels like 28.4, but I'm here to tell you it is 86% humidity. So they're sweating like Elvis in his Vegas years out there already in the warm-up. It's going to be attritional and it will be slippery.
Yeah. It'll be a wet weather game, ball on the ground. And teams do come up here and don't adjust to that quick enough, and the Suns do, because all their summer pre-season is the ball's on the ground because they're soaking wet with how much sweat they have. So they get used to that. So I'll be interested to see how the Swans go, making sure they don't over-possess it too much, because if you can do that, the Suns will bring you undone pretty quick.
Well, just to get a bit of they had a open training session here, Thursday night, they had it here, I think, or Wednesday night, I think it was.
It was 37 degrees.
Yeah, and it was even hotter, and it was at the same time that Suns trained, so they get themselves a bit of a feel about the conditions, what it possibly could be. So there was it's exactly what it is tonight, is what they were training in on Wednesday.
There's no possibility of rain, by the way. It's just very sweaty.
Yep. It is up much of the eastern seaboard. It's been 37 in Melbourne today. It's been very hot in New South Wales as well, and expected to be so again tomorrow. So the AFL's had the heat policy enacted with some longer breaks if necessary over the course of the weekend. So just adds another little layer into tonight's proceedings. A couple of minutes away from the opening bounce of the 2023 campaign for the Swans and the Suns. Joel Peterson and Michael Price calling the action for you. Jeff White, Matt Primus, your experts. Jess Stewart on the boundary. We'll check in with those conditions with Jess very shortly. It's quarter time at the MCG, and it's Melbourne by 5 points over the Western Bulldogs. 3-3 the D's, 2-4 the Dogs. Marcus Bontempelli with 10 disposals and a goal in the opening term. Winners earlier today in the AFL, North Melbourne and Port Adelaide in a big way over the Brisbane Lions at the Adelaide Oval. And in the National Rugby League, it was the Gold Coast Titans over the Melbourne Storm and the New Zealand Warriors over the North Queensland Cowboys. Let's go downstairs to Jess and check in those conditions. I think you might have the best seat in the house tonight, Jess Stewart, because it is beautiful out there.
Beautiful conditions, you're right. I do have the best seat in the house, you'd have to say, right here on centre wing, smack bang in the middle between the two benches, of course. And you did say it was about 28 degrees, it feels like, according to the Bureau, 26 degrees by matter of fact, but there's no breeze at ground level, so you'd have to say that will play no factor tonight in the match with no breeze. The Swans did win the toss and they're going to kick to the grandstand end, so the Suns kicking to the scoreboard end here at Carrara Stadium. In terms of the crowd, well, they're expecting about 14,000 through for this first match of the year at Carrara Stadium. So the conditions, however, you'd have to think, as Brad Miller alluded to in that interview earlier tonight, it will play a factor. You'd have to think for the Suns, who train in this throughout the preseason, but still very warm conditions for March. As I was doing my job today as a sports reporter in the ABC newsroom in Brisbane, we did have a discussion. Apparently yesterday was the 4th hottest day of the year in about 20 years in March, for March. So just to give some context, it's not normally this hot here in Queensland this time of year.
Thanks, Jess. About set to go for season 2023. The Suns and the Swans on Grandstand AFL here at Carrara to get us started. Here's Michael Price.
It's Laddams for the Swans versus Witts for the Suns. Umpire banks it down. It favours Witts. Beautiful tap down immediately. Noah Anderson explodes onto it. Comes off the right foot to full forward. King overruns it, sets himself, and the ball dribbles away over the behind line. First score immediately after 14 seconds for the Gold Coast Suns, one behind.
Straight away, they're into the action. Messy exit from the Swans, but Florent mops it up on the outer side. Loops the handball over the top. Going without it was Heaney. Back into the hands of Miller. And then Lukosius is dragged over the line. He has a little bit to say to Callum Mills. Rowell's in there to provide some support. We'll have a throw in on the outer side wing. A tip from you, gents. Whitey, you?
I'm going to go the Swans.
Matty?
Suns by 3 goals.
On each way, I like that. All spun back in on the Nerang River wing. Laddams maybe first hands to it. Papley just jams it forward for the Swans. A bouncing ball to half forward. Collins is there to collect, shoots a low kick up the outer side wing and finds the chest of Lukosius, who's going to be spending more time on that wing, as we heard Brad Miller say in the pre-game.
Prodigious kick, goes to right half forward through the hands of Witts. Backing up, Swans have it, takes Rampy through hands. He just lets go of the ball. The Swans will merge with it. It's Warner in close traffic at left half back, dribbles it up to the wing. McLean did beautifully, the big fella. Handball to Laddams into the corridor now, the Swans. Here's Callum Mills. He measures a right foot kick towards Franklin. He's set for it, buddy. Double grabber, plays on, and first goal of 2023 for the Swannies goes to Lance Buddy Franklin.
What a beautiful kick that was. Now, that's something talking about the difference in the efficiency going forward. I know that they had a quick play out of the midfield just to lower their eyes, but kick it to advantage. But you know, you're working inside forward 50. Collins has got no chance of stopping that, but a beautiful kick. Yeah,
they all got sucked up then, those Suns small defenders, and the Swannies outnumbered them with some really good hands. And as you say, Whitey, poor old Collins with Buddy one-on-one and no one else inside 50. He's been doing that to a lot of defenders for 15 years, hasn't he? And he's continued to do it tonight.
Yeah, and how clean were the Swans off the ground and the half-back line there.
Very sharp early. Sydney with the opening goal of the game in 2 minutes. And for those of you playing along at home, Lance Franklin's career tally, 1,048 goals, 729. You need about half a notebook just to write that down. Witts out of the middle of the ground, tumbles it inside the 50. Taken at ground level and trying to throw it on the boot around the corner was Jeffrey. Exiting kick from Rampy, run down, long, attacking it fiercely as he always does, but it ended up in the hands of Warner to Heaney. Heaney up toward half forward, finds Papley in line with the front edge of the square for the Swans. Options everywhere inside the 50, and why not go to the chest of Franklin again, who's landed awkwardly, Big Bud. He's latched onto it, 30 out, slight angle left of centre. He's back to his feet, he's going to take the set shot.
Just watching his work rate off the ball is incredible.
Multiple leads there. What?
Yeah,
extraordinary.
Just darting back, and Sam Collins that's one of the things as a forward. If you can get your defender turning his head, takes his eyes off the ball, it gives you an exceptional advantage to try and get the leads out.
Only kicked 26 goals against the Gold Coast coming into tonight, the least he's kicked against any opponent in the competition. Franklin started off with 2 in a couple of minutes. And the Swans are up and running here at Carrara. 2 straight 12, Sydney. Suns 1 behind, 4 played opening term.
Yeah, very early, but Papley's and Warner have had only 2 possessions each, but Papley's starting centre bounce. Warner then is starting half forward, coming up, and Papley's sprinting forward, so they're swapping roles. Darcy McPherson, who's playing that half back, which is a new role for him. He's got lost twice there, and Warner and Papley have both had those inside 50 kicks to buddy one out there, so something for the Suns defenders to keep an eye on.
Just even Isaac Heaney's little chip kick to Papley at centre half forward there, just to lower his eyes, hit that target. Very, very sleek already, the Swans.
And sharpening the focus for Sam Collins as well. Having Buddy Franklin not only playing, but sharpening his tools with 2 goals immediately in the game. Back into the middle, Goulden. His kick smothered. The Swans will extract the ball anyway through Florent, then handball to Laddams. A floater to the back of the pack. He floats in front, does Sam Collins, and wins this contest with a double grabbing mark. He plays on. The kick was dangerous.
It works out though. They'll stroll outside the defensive 50. Farah shinned the kick straight to Warner. Warner pokes it back inside the arc. Hayward had it slapped away. Good defence from Farah. Made amends for the error and found the safety of the boundary line inside the D50.
Buddy was free inside 40-50 then too.
He would have been screaming for it. He's generally makes it known when he's in a bit of space. So Swans with 2 early goals, 5 minutes played opening term. Whips decisively down from front spot, but Papley hands it off to Mills for the Swans. Towering kick to full forward, spends an eternity in the air and is read beautifully by Ballard at the top of the defensive goal square.
He's an elite one-on-one defender, Charlie Ballard. He did well then, gave it to Collins, and now they're going to extract it by foot. It ends up in the arms of the big man Witts at left half back from Matt Rowell. He runs on and Witts now plays on. Long left foot kick to the wing, flying high there. It was well done by Jeffrey, who knocked the ball down. Suns with the numbers. Ainsworth, that's a mongrel torpedo, and he's kicked it out of bounds on the forward. Left half forward for the Suns, right half back for the Swans. And the free kick's going to be taken by Tom McCartan just where the arc of 50 meets the boundary. The umpire's going to drag him back as he played onto his left. So Tom McCartan. Suns crowd a little stunned here. 2 straight to the Swannies and only 1 behind to the Suns after 6 minutes of the first term on ABC Sport. That's a beautifully measured kick. I'll say beautifully measured. It hit Errol Goulden and the crowd reckon it was out of bounds on the full. Umpire a lot closer than I am. Goulden plays on and measures a lovely left foot pass to Oliver Florent.
You went with it and stayed with it, Pricey. I like your conviction.
Thank you, sir.
Florent. Handball to Rampy at half back for the Swans. Now to Dill Stevens. Nice little step inside of Holman. Gets onto his left boot. Sends it to the edge of the 50 and rising to Marks McLean. Hands off to Franklin. 65 out. Sends it inside the 50. And Miller's back in the hole for the Suns. Plays on by hand. Living dangerously. Long. They flick it around inside the defensive 50. Clearing handball from Farah. Found Miller. Taken by Parker in the centre for the Swans now. He can slow it down and find some control to Rampy. And now back out wide to Stevens, who's got it broadcast side wing for Sydney.
He looks up and it's a long left footer to the pocket. Heaney! Oh, it was a good spoil in the end. The double grab from Heaney was over the boundary line. But it was a nice spoiling effort in the end by Charlie Constable playing his first game for the Suns.
Yeah, they've got to try and get out of their back line a little bit quicker, the Suns. They're inviting the pressure from the Swans.
Throw in right forward pocket. Swans in attack. They've been doing a lot of it. Just hacked out of there by Miller. It bounces towards the boundary line. Picked up by Jeffries. He's got enough time to turn around and hook it with the right foot towards Holman. Swans through Laddams. Spoiled now. Rampy had the ball slapped out of his hands. Gets it back now to Braden Campbell. Back to Laddams. The big man sells a dummy and then shins the kick. Tuke Miller overruns it. It's at the wing on the logo. Suns through Swallow. Tackled by Heaney holding the ball and they get the free kick, the Swans.
Goulden, handball to Franklin, gets down low, trying to flip it up to Rowbottom. Found his target in the end. Handball to Lloyd through the centre of the ground now. Oh, nervous moment there for Hayward. Laddams had it and lost it. And then Goulden switches it to the outer side as the Swans keep possession. Cunningham now away to Florent. In fact, it's McInerney out there, marauding through half forward. Handball to Lloyd, handball back to McInerney, standing start, pokes his kick inside the 50, and that's chopped off by Ben Long. Had the best game of his career last time out against Sydney for the Saints. He spirals it long down the outer side.
Oh, the Swans are going to win out here. Oliver Florent, good tackle by Chol. He's still got the handball away. It's on the logo on the outer side and a mess of players. Going to hold the ball up. As Noah Anderson stands tall in the tackle, it will be a ball up just on the edge of the centre square, right on centre wing, Nerang River side of the ground here at Carrara. The ruckman get it down, it goes to Rowbottom, shins it forward to centre half forward. It's taken there by Long, through a chain of hands now. They'll get it out of here. The Suns it's kicked towards the commentary wing. Good spoiling effort from the Swans. Is going to drag the ball back from Rampy. He handballs it forward to Stevens and they're away.
Stevens had a bit of it early. Kicks to the edge of the arc. McLean up high, brings it down for Papley. So fleet of foot. Round the body inside the 50. Long had it and lost it. Scoots out the back. Clever toe poke from Parker. Tried to centre it up for Franklin. Lukosius handballs to Miller. He had a fumble. Socket off the ground inside the D50 for the Suns. Stevens has got it on the front edge of the square. Upended by Holman. Kicks to full forward. Franklin with one hand.
Too high.
He was off, but the fend off was too high. Buddy thought all his Christmases had come at once into an open goal. It'll be a free kick to Collins on the last line.
He handballs it off to Charlie Constable. Finds Witts at right half back, just outside the arc of 50. He measures a nice little left footer, finds Ainsworth. Just on the point of the centre square almost.
The Suns got to have a bit of poise here at the moment. There's a lot of rushing going on.
You've got outnumbered long down the line here.
He goes long down the line. Casbolt and Scholl. It was Casbolt at the back who roved it, but Rampy got a deft little toe in. They'll sneak it out and it ends up with Laddams on the outer wing. He got down low to take it around his knees, the big ruckman. He chips it into the corridor to find Parker. The handball's immediate onto the logo to Rowbottom. He plays on. Standing start. Long kick towards Franklin territory. Through the hands of Collins and the rest of the pack. At the ground level, it's Papley. He's got 2 metres on his opponent. Sells the dummy. Outside of the right boot. And it's a beauty. What a perler of a goal from Tom Papley. 3 straight to the Swans. The Suns only have the one behind. And wow, how long have we played in this first term? 10 minutes 44.
Yeah, I think it was Long on that occasion, just overcommitted on the tackle, just ran too fast, overcommitted, and Papley's the king of selling you a bit of candy and getting you outside. But what the Swans are doing fantastic. They're outnumbering so good between the arcs. Every time there's a contest in the air, on the ground, they have more numbers than the Suns, and then they're efficient with their hands, and that's what's given them a lot of inside 50s. And we're able to look into the Suns coaches box here, right? They've got their stats big TV screen and everything's red. And looking, there'll be a lot of questions going on. How do we fix this up here? They need to win some inside ball and get some territory.
Well, it's the ability of the Swans at the moment to attack then spread.
Yeah,
They're putting pressure on the Suns, fumble, and then they get the ball. Then their spread is first class at the moment. The Suns can't keep up with them.
Think about how the game started. Noah Anderson out of the middle, Suns on the board within 14 seconds, and they've only been inside 50 once since. Sydney have really taken control of the game. Swallow has a play at it in the middle of the ground, dragged down by Stevens, and again the Swans emerge. Laddams to Mills, Mills to Warner by hand, who can burst away from the pack, send Sydney to full forward. McDonald in from the side, clawing at it as he went to the turf. And it ricochets through for a rush behind. 3-1 Sydney, 1 behind the Suns. 12 minutes played, opening term. Grandstand AFL coming to you from Carrara.
Perfect example there. Chad Warner was the one that got the ball out. He was the one that was kicking it inside forward 50.
Constable plays on for the Suns, runs out to the right forward pocket and then, right back pocket, and kicks it long towards Casbolt. Good clunk from Levi, kicks it down the line. Swallow takes the mark in front of Chad Warner. Just short of centre wing on the outer side. His lateral kick is dangerous. It bounced around the ankles and was only towed forward. The Swans are able to cut it off on the wing. They've got plenty of time though, and they'll go back and take their time. Just patient. Rampy was the kick recipient.
Short on the outer side, finds Lloyd.
Everybody's just paused.
Yeah, there's no movement down the line.
Hold it up for a little while here, the Swans. Lloyd goes long to half forward. Suns players flew against each other in the end, and all the Swans stayed at ground level. Beautifully scooped up by Hayward to McDonald to Franklin, left forward pocket.
Yep.
Squaring kick is delightful. The vision and the touch from Buddy Franklin, and Dill Stevens just stood there and accepted it to his chest. 25 out, smack bang in front.
It's one of the things that he's there to kick goals, but one of the things that Buddy is such a good field kicker.
Beautiful.
Kicks the ball so good. Vision was outstanding then.
Played every game from round 15 on last year, Dill Stevens. the Mildura product out of Norwood, trying to really make an impact in this season, and he's making an impact on the scoreboard early. Swans with the first 4 of the game. 4-1-25 to the Gold Coast Suns, 1 behind, 13 and a half minutes played opening term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL are Jeff White and Matt Primus.
They look stunned, don't they? The Suns. There's no movement. They're, I won't say insipid. They're really poor around the contest. They're running. The Swans just look like they're 10 times faster and stronger, and that's purely based on they are outnumbering at the drop of the ball, in the air, in their forward 50, just all over the ground. It looks like the Swans have 3 or 4 extra players at all the contests, but it's purely based on work rate. Double the possessions, double the contested possessions. It's about 15 or 14 inside 50s to 2, just in the domination at the moment.
They're just spreading.
The youngster for the Suns now, Bodie Uland, now on the field and welcome to senior football. He's lined up against Luke Parker. That's a tough assignment first up. The umpire's bounce was recalled. He throws it up now. Laddams taps it down to himself. Well done. They get through Campbell. Now Chad Warner lowers the eyes and hits his target in McDonald. Good straight lead. Hit his chest. McDonald from 70 metres. Sees something he likes. It's a big fly. That is an absolute beauty. And that is taken by Will Hayward. He had the sit and he just popped it up for him. He's about 25 metres out, 20 in fact, a slight angle to the left.
The centre bounce is apart from the first one as we mentioned, it's just coming out with ease. It's not as if it's a quick kick or anything, it's just a beautiful chain out and then coming inside 50 with no pressure.
Chad Warner's carving them up in the middle there.
Oh, that's an awful kick from Will Hayward. Just poked it and pushed it to the left. So only the one behind, chance missed for the Swans. 4-2-26 plays, one behind, 25 points the margin with 15 and a half gone to the first term.
Constable waltzes in from fullback, sends a long kick to the outer side. Hollands went up, couldn't take the mark for the Suns. Taken by Campbell. Kicks a low footy to half forward for the Swans. That was messy. Picked up at the bootlaces of Ballard. Hands off to Constable. Kicks up the wing. And Paddy McCartan floats in to juggle a mark. Immediately looks corridor and rolls onto Stevens. He's got Rampy cruising past. Feeds it by hand in that direction. And Rampy sticks it inside the arc and finds Heaney. 48 metres out, charging up on the lead.
Rampy's causing them all sorts of problems off half back there. He'd have 7 or 8 possessions already, I would have thought.
All-Australian last year, Isaac Heaney. 49 goals, 28 on the season. They have to kick it from outside the arc here. Dominant start from the Swans. Already out by 25 points. Heaney from 52 metres starts right, doesn't draw back. Another minor score. 4-3-26 Sydney. Gold Coast 1 behind. We've played 16 and a half in the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
The Suns play on quickly. It's a long kick from Constable, ill directed. Stevens gets there for the Swans, got his hands to it to cut it off from Lukosius and takes it over the boundary line right next to the interchange gates. There will be a throw in. Suns crowd stunned here at Carrara. 26 points the margin, 17 gone in the first term on ABC Sport. Michael Price and Joel Peterson calling your action with your experts, Matty Primus and Jeff White. Ruck contest was good. Rowell took it. Ball shaken out of his grip. He goes back in, wins it as he does a ball. It's taken off his boot, off hands, and picked up by Alex Davies, who's immediately trundled into the turf by Errol Gilden. There'll be a ball up on centre wing.
The start Alex Davies was after on his 21st birthday. Overrun here in the early stages, the Suns. Witts does his level best, but it's hacked out of the stoppage by Papley on the broadcast wing. Cunningham handballs to Warner. Warner loops one over the centre square to McInerney. They look up and they've got numbers everywhere at the moment, Sydney. McDonald spread out to right half forward to take a mark. He's out at left half forward now is Logan McDonald. Just 9 irons into the pocket. Heaney back with the flight, just couldn't hang on. It was like a slips catch and falling to the turf. The ball bobbled out of his hands and goes out for a throw in left forward pocket for the Swans.
But that was a loose ball. It was a loose ball. There was two Swans in front of the Suns. They're getting led to the ball here, the Suns. 15
inside 50s to 2 in favour of the Swans. The ruck contest, it's a shallow throw in. Witts gets it down to Collins. Collins the handball to Rowell, tackled. He could have been pinged for Incorrect disposal. The ball's loose around ground level. Oh, Cunningham tapped it forward to the goal square. Rowbottom couldn't get it. Warner does. Off one step in the middle of a tackle. Warner the outside of the boot, and it's touched on the line. Charlie Ballard with the desperation lunge. Just tapped it and one behind. 4-4-28 plays, one behind. 27 points the margin with 19 gone in the first term.
So Bodie Hewlin on debut, strolls out of fullback and whacks it out toward Casbolt through his hands and out of play. Big raps on the youngster, Whitey. Talented footballing family.
Yeah, talented footballing family. Congratulations to the to Hewlin and also his family. It's an amazing story.
Out of the Burleigh Bombers and then on to the Broadbeach Cats, picked up with the Suns Academy. Pretty highly touted first round draft selection in prospect, but of course because of the academy the Suns had access to him. All the other clubs knew that he wasn't available and there wasn't a lot of draft buzz around him. He spent last year with a stress reaction in his back, didn't play any footy. He earns his call up for round one. Nice story in Suns colours. Ball to be thrown back in at left half forward for Sydney. Suns with the opening behind of the game. It's been all the Swans since with 4 goals for. We're 19 and a half through the opening term. And again, it's Swans numbers around the stoppage. Mills toe pokes it inside the forward 50. Heaney was up to meet it. Cunningham deployed in that new role as a forward this season. Lays a good tackle. Goulden, who was prolific in their pre-season game against Carlton, he went without it. Ainsworth exits the defensive 50 to the Nerang River wing for the Suns, and it's going to come back in. McCartan, dangerous kick across the corridor. Blakey couldn't mark. Goulden took it, almost found the chest of Hayward. A moment for Hewlin, sockers it off the ground. Races on inside the defensive 50 for the Swans. And Rampy will get there first. Handball loop toward Goulden. Did well. Pushed Jeffrey off the footy. Wobbled it out to Warner. Great defence from Errol Goulden.
Brilliant stuff from Warner. He sold the dummy, went left, and it's a long kick towards half forward. Off hands, beautifully rode front and centre from McPherson, gets it back. Did the 1-2 handball, then his kick half smothered as it went across the wing. Once again, Haywood picks it up. The sweeping handball back to Larkey. He kicks it long. Witt slaps it onto the logo. Rove by Rowbottom for the Swans. Long kick inside 50. 1-1, and it's Franklin. And he's chopped the arms, has he? Yes, I was about to say, about to explode away with the ball. But it's going to be a free kick, and that'll go to Jai Farah.
Looking for a bit of budget magic then from the boundary line.
Nice lit up for Franklin, no doubt about that. Jeff White, Matt Primus, your experts on Grandstand AFL. Witts off the clearing kick. Crashes the pack and pulls in a good mark. Co-captain handballs out wide.
Poor kick.
Long kick up the line from Constable. Just sat it on the head of the forwards. It somehow worked out. McCartan's handball was pinched by Holman. Sends it to full forward. A hand to it from Hollins. Goes and tackles, but tackles too high. Free kick to Lloyd on the last line for the Swans. Sydney by 27. Ticked into time on in this opening term. At the MCG, meanwhile, a shot on goal for Cozzy Pickett. The Doggies have taken the lead. Pickett's just handed it back to the D's. It's 6-4 playing 5-9 with 6 minutes left in the second term.
Swans have the ball at left half back now. Campbell just chips it forward. Being careful to Cunningham. He goes beyond the wing. Logan McDonald. We took half a step. The umpire said he didn't play on. Now he does. He arcs right. It's a long kick in the Franklin direction. McLean as well. It comes off his hands. Rove by Collins for the Suns. He's tackled. Lets loose a handball. Now Ulan did well. Good presence for a young man. Barreled into the pack and kicked it long towards Casbolt. It bounced off Casbolt's chest. The Swans have it on the wing. Now it's with Lloyd, who says, no, we're going to settle it right down and slow play.
Again, Lloyd looked corridor. Didn't see a lot that he liked. Shoots it out wide to Blakey. 2 goals to Franklin for the Swans. 1 to Papley, 1 to Stevens. Here's Blakey cruising through half forward. Sends it to full forward off the hands of Franklin. Hooking it around the shoulder was McDonald with a great finish. The big man does the small man's work. And Logan McDonald crumbs a goal for the Swans and pushes their lead to 33. 5-4 plays 1 behind. 23 minutes gone. Opening term here at Carrara.
That was the athleticism of the big fella, 195 centimetres, but he was moving a bit like Buddy then, his ability to react on the ground there. But just the domination in the forward half, it's up to about 75% the ball's living in Sydney's forward 50. So I was about to pot the small backs of the Suns, but you can't criticise them. The ball's just coming in there far too much.
They're plus 58 in disposals in the first quarter.
But they're so clean off the ground. And then they had Lloyd wanted to slow it up, and then they had the ability to go quick. So they know when to slow it down, they know when to go quick, and they're so efficient and leading at the ball, and they're just the two-way running is unbelievable at the moment from the Swans.
Back into the middle. Witts gets it down to Rowell. He's monstered there by Laddams. A front on tackle buried him into the middle. We'll have another bounce. Sorry, Matty.
You keep going, Pricey.
Jared Witts, never interrupt the ruckman, gets down around the foot of Swallow, who toes it forward. Beautifully done by Braden Campbell. Accepted the ball, then the blind turn with the bump at the same time. They get rid of it now long down the line. That was through Lloyd. Comes off hands now from McLean and Laddams. And Jai Farrell was the only bit of opposition for the Gold Coast Suns as it dribbles across the boundary line right next to the interchange gates.
Plenty of team news in the off-season, Pricey. Some team news for us on Grandstand. You can listen on the ABC Listen app now.
It's a big development.
My Listen app's had smoke coming off it in the last few weeks with the cricket on. I haven't turned it off. So, of course, the same way you can get your NRL coverage, you can now get every game of the AFL season through the ABC Listen app via the AFL or AFL Extra button. Find us on the AFL Extra button tonight if you have to jump in the car or go somewhere away from the radio. Holman slaps it forward as the Suns get it toward half forward. King's handball back into the corridor, cut off by Mills of the Swans. Puts it on the head of McDonald on the AFL logo. Goulden had it and lost it. McLean went through the pack. Taken by Swallow. Handball's off to Long, who tries to open the field up to Hollands on the outer side. What can the Suns do from here? Not a lot in front of the footy here for Elijah Hollands. Of course, brother Ollie debuted on Thursday night, and then he sticks it out on the boundary line, and it bounces out of play to be tossed back in. So after all that, he missed the target. We'll have a throw in. True centre wing, Swans by 33 through 25 and a half in the opening term.
Doing it on the bit, the Swannies. Throw in, Nerang River wing. Right onto the logo. Front position was Witts, but Laddams did beautifully body-wise. Got the ball down to Stevens. His handball was tapped down beautifully by Goulden into the path of Parker. Under pressure, he toes it towards the boundary line. Heaney couldn't gather. Rao did. He goes left and then right and decides to poke it long down the line. Casbolt nudged Laddams out. Took the mark. Just short of centre wing on the outer side. Something for the Suns fans. Kicks along towards half forward. Ben King. The body work was good against Tom McCartan. Then he dropped what he might have taken. Got the handball away. It's in the hands of Hollands. He's held up in a tackle at right half forward. And we'll have a ball up. You'll see Ben King just getting into it there, can't you, Joel?
That's in the back to
Struggling for touch a little bit, is King at the moment.
As I said before, a lot of pressure on a young man coming back from an ACL.
Such a promising player, though. So Witts from outside 50 sends it to the pocket. Davies is there, towing the boundary line, brought down in the tackle, ball spills over the line, it'll be tossed back in. Campbell wrapped him up. And so a throw in the right forward pocket here for the Suns. Kicked the opening behind of the game through Noah Anderson, bursting out of the middle in the opening 15 seconds. Haven't scored since. The Swans have kicked 5 goals for to lead it by 33. Ball's thrown back in. Miller at the stoppage to Anderson. His eyes light up, curls it around the body and finishes beautifully. Noah Anderson applies a bit of class to proceedings for the Suns and gets them going in a major sense. 1-1-7 Gold Coast. The Swans 5-4-34, 27 played opening term.
They won the inside ball then.
Yes.
Thomas, and then they were able to get a little bit of spread and a little bit of width. But for me, it all starts with just Took Miller, Noah Anderson. I know Rao's trying to do his best inside, but they've got to win those contested footies.
Yeah, they do. And the first time the ball had actually been able to live down there for a few moments. It had just been bouncing out of there when it had gone in there, but they're able to get a forward stoppage. Wasn't pretty, but a nice forward stoppage goal and set up.
Well, Jeff Stewart's on the boundary.
Callum Mills has just gone down to the rooms with the Sydney team doctor. Not sure what for at this stage, but I'll keep you posted on that one.
So we're back into the middle umpire with a perfect bounce. Laddams v Witts. Witts got it down, and again his hit-outs, he's winning the hit-outs. That was his 12th in a row and fifth to advantage. Comes to Rowell. Chips it forward. Casbolt coming and punched away by Paddy McCartan. Once again, the Swans have got the numbers at ground level through Stevens. The handball goes back. Misses the target. Lloyd mops up. Back to Paddy McCartan, across to his brother Tom, who stands at the front of the goal square. Chips it out into the right back pocket to McInerney. And they're just holding onto the ball beautifully. The Swans leading by 27 points late in the first term on ABC Sport.
And this is what they do really well. So you've got to press up. You've got to play one-on-one.
Plays on now. Well, that was a bit of pressure there that applied to the kick, and there's a turnover. Noah Anderson, 70 from goal. Wheeling around. The right foot's good. Big pack of players. Both McCartans fight for it. It's towed out of there by Larkey. Smothered by Ainsworth. Handball now to Touk Miller. Tackled into the ground by Rowbottom. Lets loose the ball. Now they were a chance, the Suns. Could have been tackled without it. Rowell. It's towed forward. Ainsworth with a mark. No, it's not. It's young Sam Flanders, who was wearing the number 26 last year, has taken over Jack Bowes' number 3. He's taken a mark. It was a juggling effort 20 metres out directly in front.
Oh, they all came from pressure. That's going to get them back in the game.
Well, they're trailing by 27 points. This to drag it back to 21. Sam Flanders. Assistant coach Brad Miller said he's one to look out for this year. Leans back and squeezes it through. The Suns get their second goal right on quarter time. It's the Sydney Swans 5-4-34. The Gold Coast Suns 2-1-13. And that's a 21-point margin at quarter time.
So after the Suns scored the opening behind, the Swans kicked 5 in a row, and the Suns closed with 2 late ones to narrow the gap to 21. As Pricey said, the first 2 of the game to Lance Franklin within a couple of minutes of one another. Goals to Papley, to McDonald and to Stevens for the Swans. For the Gold Coast, Noah Anderson kicked the first behind and the first goal, and Flanders adding one after the siren of quarter time. We get to the first change. The Swans well and truly in control, up by 21 points on ABC Radio, News Radio, Sport Digital and via the ABC Listen app. This is Grandstand AFL.
Hello, I'm Patrick Stack, and if you like great stories and you enjoy sport, then I reckon you need ABC Sport Daily in your life.
And unfortunately, Patrick, that means sometimes people like you need to move over.
The more gold medals and stuff I get, is the more I can put my name into the history book. Records come and go, but gold lasts forever.
Should always dream big, Stacky.
It's a daily sports conversation, and it's called ABC Sport Daily. Find us on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Here's Callum Mills. He measures a right foot kick towards Franklin. He's set for it, buddy. Double grabber. Plays on. And first goal of 2023 for the Swannies goes to Lance Buddy Franklin. The handball's immediate onto the logo to Rowbottom. He plays on. Standing start. Long kick towards Franklin territory. Through the hands of Collins and the rest of the pack. At the ground level, it's Papley. He's got it 2 metres on his opponent. Sells the dummy outside of the right boot. And it's a beauty. What a perler of a goal from Tom Papley. 3 straight to the Swans.
Here's Blakey cruising through half forward, sends it to full forward, off the hands of Franklin. Hooking it around the shoulder was McDonald with a great finish. The big man does the small man's work, and Logan McDonald crumbs a goal for the Swans. Ball's thrown back in. Miller at the stoppage to Anderson. His eyes light up, curls it around the body and finishes beautifully. Noah Anderson applies a bit of class to proceedings for the Suns and gets them going in a major sense.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital,
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Quarter time on the Gold Coast. It is the Swans by 21 points, 5-4-34 to the Suns, 2-1-13. They kicked 5 unanswered goals to start the game, did Sydney The Suns closing with the final two of that opening term. Joel Peterson and Michael Price calling the action for you. Great to have you with us, whether you're listening on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, on ABC News Radio, or of course via the ABC Listen app, where you can get every game throughout the course of 2023. If it's not on, if your team's not on your local radio where you are, you can just jump on the ABC Listen app, hit the AFL or the AFL Extra button, and you'll be able to hear the grandstand coverage of your favourite team. At the MCG, it is half-time, has just gone half-time, and it's Melbourne 9-4-58 to the Doggies 5-9-39. The Doggies kicked 3 goals to start the term and hit the front. Melbourne then closed with 5 in a row. And it is, in fact, 4 in a row to close for Melbourne, and it is the Demons by 19 points at the half there. Earlier today, North Melbourne and Port Adelaide, both winners over West Coast and Brisbane, respectively. Tomorrow, GWS and Adelaide, Hawthorn and Essendon, St Kilda and Fremantle to round out the first round of season 2023. Jeff White and Matt Primus, what did you make of that opening term here that sees the Swans lead by 21?
Just the efficiency from the Swans, the ability to win the loose ball, the contested footy. They led the Suns players to the ball. Their two-way running was exceptional. The ability to press up, force the turnover, and then spread back. Just felt like, and you mentioned that, Matty, is that it felt like there was 3-1 all the time with the contested footy. When there was a loose ball, there was so many Swans at the contested footy, and then their ability to not only win the ball back and get it off the Suns, but also to hit their targets. The efficiency through, particularly the arcs, they were really, really strong. They were able to get it inside forward 50 really, really easily. And I think at some point you said their price, it was 17-1 inside forward 50 in favour of the Swans. So there's just that ability to really suffocate the Suns. Suns got their last 2 goals simply by being first to the ball and winning that contested footy, and that's what they've got to get back to. They've got to understand that when the Swans are flying, there's always an arm wrestle in some point of the game. You've got to be able to get on your man, turn your head, work for each other, try and force that turnover. That's what they got. The Swans had it in the back 50. They were able to press up. They knew that the Swans were going to go into that slow mode because it was near the end of the first quarter, and they were able to get that goal late, right on the siren. So, sure that's what they spoke about at quarter time, but the Swans just looked really sharp, really efficient, very clean off their feet too.
Yeah, they've started on a good note. We were saying, what do we expect round one? I would have thought the Suns would have been up and out, but the Swans definitely were, and they're going at 74% efficiency, which is how clean they were, but also how off the Suns' pressure was. That's just far too high, and I would think that would have been one of the main messages from Stuart Dew at quarter time.
Heard in the pre-game that they wanted to boost that efficiency. The Suns maybe add a couple of layers to their game. Certainly need to do that to get back in this one. Witts and Laddams as we start the second term. And then a thumping tackle from Parker against Rowell, but he gave away a free kick, did the Swan. Anderson toe pokes it inside the forward 50. King goes sliding through the pack, 40 metres out. Swallow hooks it around the body. Bouncing ball, how will it bounce? Very well indeed. A little bit of a scrimmage in the goal square in the aftermath, but David Swallow was able to put the right action on the snap. And the Suns with an instant goal here in this second term to close the gap to 15 points. 5-4-34 to the Suns 2-1-13. Before the thoughts of Matt Primus and Jeff White, we might head downstairs to Jess Stewart. Jess, you mentioned that Callum Mills came off late in that first term and went down to the rooms. Any sign of him for the Swans?
Just as you've thrown back to me, he has just walked back up to the bench. So I wasn't sure what it was. I did reach out to the Swans, but they haven't got back to me yet, but he has come back up to the bench. So it's a good sign for the Swans there.
There was a moment in the first quarter where it looked like he had a hard knock, so maybe it might have been a cork or maybe something come across his knee. Wasn't too sure.
The Suns with the last 3 goals in the match. It's now 15 points the margin. Swans lead. Laddams over his head, handball to Warner, tackled, holding the ball. Really good tackle from Nick Holman, just forward to centre wing. Handball to the run of Touk Miller. A long kick to right forward pocket. Chol was hopelessly behind his opponent there in Tom McCartan. The kick didn't help. McCartan goes across the face of goal. Florent tidies up what could have been a very dangerous situation. Handball to Rowbottom. To the run there of Rampy. A long kick to the outer wing. Big contest from Franklin. Takes it over the boundary line. And we'll get a throw in on the outer side. Sam Collins getting into Buddy Franklin as well. And you know what? That's what Sam Collins does.
Ben Long standing in the hole in front of Franklin as well there. If there's one thing that Ben Long plays without, it is fear. He is as hard as they come. Certainly was that way for St Kilda, and that's what Suns fans can look forward to. After trading for him in the off-season, Anderson and Rowell, the two running mates in midfield for the Suns, exchange hand passes. Latham screws it around the body. Hands there from Hewland, back to Constable, pushed off the kick, and it floats into the hands of Warner. Just in front of the AFL logo on the Nerang River wing. Swans by 15 points. As Pricey told you, the Suns have kicked the past 3 in the game. Warner sets sail inside the 50. Franklin upstairs with the rise, couldn't drag it in. Papley taken down by Miller, caught holding the ball. And Touk Miller wasn't letting Tom Papley out of his grasp.
He's hurt him too.
And the intent certainly been shown by the Suns. You're dead right, standing to mark Tom Papley, looking very sore as he ambles across to try and block the kick from Touk Miller. He couldn't do so. Darcy McPherson takes it in front of Campbell, just short of centre wing, commentary side. Another 20-metre kick right onto the logo to Charlie Constable, the former Cat. His kick dangerous to the corridor, half intercepted by Harry Cunningham. Constable follows up, kicks it off the deck into the head of Braden Campbell. It bounces back in the Swans' direction towards left half forward. Great shepherding effort there. Comes from Papley, the ball kicked up by Goulden, and it skids across the face of goal, picked up there by Hayward, goes left, goes right, it bounces towards the goal square, and goalkeeper Darcy McPherson saves the day for the Suns.
Goes to Constable.
Sorry, Joel, they've lifted their intensity, the Suns.
No doubt, there's no easy ball, a nice flowing ball for the Swans, is there? They're at them at the moment, the Suns.
Constable sends it out wide to the outer side. Lukosius rises and pulls it in. Immediately rolls onto his right boot. Awkward kick down the outer side wing. Made Holman work for it. Paddy McCartan was there every step of the way with him. Spilt to Ainsworth for the Suns. Witts tried to slap it on. Straight to Florent. Out toward the boundary line on the outer side. Eventually Lloyd's pushed over, so too the football.
And this is what the Suns need to do. They weren't winning any of the contested footy. They weren't first to the ball. They're now trying to match the intensity of the Swans.
Jeff White and Matt Primus, your experts on Grandstand AFL. 15-point lead to the Swans. Ball on the outer side wing, tossed back in. Laddams shared it with Warner, got it back. Stevens' kick ricocheted straight up in the air where Laddams pulled it out of the sky. Handballed to Lloyd. And now away to Stevens. The left footer sends it to the edge of the 50. Good defence from Collins. Across to slap it away from McLean and see it out for a throw-in at left half back.
So interesting in defence, you're seeing Charlie Ballard coming across to Franklin and Collins going on to McLean. So there's been a minor change there. They could be swapping across as well. The throw-in goes right half forward for the Suns, for the Swans. It's taken by Witts. Got the handball away. It's hacked out of the clearance. Goes towards Chol. At ground level, he and Chad Warner go 1-to-1. Bounce against each other and the ball goes across the boundary line for another throw-in. Good contest.
And this is how I thought the game would be. Just more, no easy ball. It's just contest, stoppage to stoppage. There's just a lot of intensity about it. The Suns have certainly come to play this quarter.
The throw in between the wing and right half forward for the Swans on the outer side. The clearance taken by Rowell. 40-metre kick towards half forward. Nicely taken off hands. Braden Campbell, and finds Laddams with a beautiful pass on the outer wing. He's just going to slow play up. Jess Stewart's on the boundary.
Callum Mills waiting to come back on at the bench for the Swans. So a good sign. Had a little bit of blood on his jersey, so maybe just had to deal with a cut.
Good news. Thanks, Jess, for their co-captain. Franklin couldn't hold on to the kick from Laddams, and it's out for a throw-in.
Not sure on the stats on Laddams, Pricey, but he's probably getting beaten around the ruck, although he's nullifying Witts okay, but he's getting a lot of the ball around the ground.
I think Witts has got him by 5 in as far as the hit-outs, and a couple by hit-outs to advantage, but he's got 10 disposals to Witts' 7.
At the stoppage, Swallow, his kick smothered by Florent. Ricochets to Constable with his 13th kick of the match. Leads the way for the Suns. Up toward King. Made a contest of it. Spilt to Stevens for the Swans. Immediately looks infield and finds Rowbottom. He goes to swing it across the corridor. Kick went through the hands of Long. Let Hayward in. And then Long dragged Hayward away without the football. No free kick for that. Hewland dives in over the top of Heaney. Goulden comes in from the side at half forward for the Swans. Slapped on by Cunningham. Taken back the other way. Anderson just shoots it wide. In fact, it was Rowell. And then it's slapped toward the boundary line. And it'll be thrown back in right underneath our broadcast position here on level 4 at Carrara. Suns trail by 15 points. Swans 5-4 to the Gold Coast 3-1.
John Longmire getting very animated on the bench for the Sydney Swans. The coach throw in. Lands just short of Witts and Laddams. Witts got the front position and got the hit out. Went down to Noah Anderson. Outside of the right boot is a good kick towards right half forward. Off the hands of Tom McCartan. It was a lovely piece of roving from his brother Paddy. He got the handball away. Got it to Rampy. He's tackled, loses the ball. The Suns with a chance. They lose the ball. Ben King puts himself in. Handball backwards. Oh boy, it's just amped up a little here. Very hot in the contest. Picked up by Hollins. Hooks it around towards half forward. Beautiful fist away, row front and centre by Warner. He's tackled by Ainsworth. Ball spills. Rowell picks it up. He's tackled. It was too high. He's 70 from goal. Goes into the corridor now. He finds the youngster playing his first game in Bodie Hewland.
Got a mismatch. Choi in the goal square.
He kicks it to the pocket. Here's Chol, and it went through the hands of Chol, and the Swans get it away. Half smothered, though, off the hands of Touk Miller. And it's going to be a throw-in in the right forward pocket.
They put it to a good position
that up
there.
a bit there.
Yeah, at least they get a stop play. They're really good at the Suns. Oh, they were last year statistically. They're very good inside their forward 50.
Joel still hasn't had a disposal in the ball game as yet. Big Marbior. Ball tossed back in. McLean works his way to front spot. Slap back toward the boundary line. We'll do it all again.
But that's the difference in that sequence just on the wing. There's a lot of hard in ground ball contested footy. They weren't there in the first quarter from the Suns.
Lots of Jeff White with you on Grandstand AFL alongside Matthew Primus, our experts this evening. Half-time at the MCG, Melbourne by 19 points over the Doggies from the stoppage. Here's a chance for Hollins, kicks to full forward. Chol was up very early indeed. Taken away by Tom McCartan, run down by Chol. His kick to Ainsworth, he's run down as well. Hayward there in defence. Wins the free kick for the Swans with some terrific tackling work.
Then turns it over with a pretty ordinary kick that just goes outside 50. Towed off the deck there by Stevens. Now it's a chance for the Suns. Lukosius picks it up. Just belts it straight back inside 50. It skids off the turf onto the chest of Tom McCartan, who takes it over the boundary line. Mab Chol appealing for deliberate, and the crowd doing similar. It's going to be thrown in. 25 from the Gold Coast Suns goal in the left forward pocket.
Overly pretty here in this second term so far. 9 minutes play. Just the one goal to the Suns to narrow the gap to 15. Davies at the stoppage inside the forward 50 for Gold Coast. Up toward full forward. King charged out. Jeffrey couldn't take it with him. Spilt to Stevens. Good pressure from Miller. Pushed him across the boundary line as he tried to get the kick away. And a throw in deep forward for the Suns.
But sometimes that ugly footy's not too bad because it gets a little bit of momentum out of the hands of the opposition and gets it back on an even keel, and that's what they're doing now, the Suns.
And it was pretty. It wasn't real pretty as far as the Suns were concerned in that opening term. Ball tossed back in. Stevens inside the defensive 50 for the Swans. Rowell tries to bullock his way through the pack. He's caught by a couple. And we'll have a ball in 20 out from the Suns goal.
And the growth in the Suns has got to be, they've got to be able to do that during a quarter, not wait till quarter time to fix it up.
Yeah.
Goulden at the base of the pack can't pick it up. Rowell does. He lets loose a handball picked up by Chad Warner, who's tackled by Davies at the top of the goal square. Umpire will move in and throw it up. Does so quickly. The ruckman put it down. Witts. Davies tries to go mid-air and then decides to pull out of that. And it bounces on the ground at the top of the goal square again. Chad Warner picks it up. He's tackled by Davies again. Lets loose the ball. He goes in again. So does Davies. He can't pick it up. There's about 4 bodies on top of the ball at the moment. Davies is on top of them and appealing for holding the ball on all 4 players.
Good umpiring, though.
Yeah, it was great umpiring. The umpires let it go, and it's going to be balled up just slightly to the right of where it was about a minute ago.
We're on the last tackle of this set at the top of the goal square for the Suns. Kick out of the pack. They tried to get it going forward, and it's rushed through for a minus score. Witts taking it out of the clearance and jamming it on the boot. Narrows the gap to 14 points. The Suns 3-2, the Swans 5-4. Speaking of the National Rugby League, at Lang Park, the Broncos 18 lead the Dragons 16, 10 minutes into the second half.
Well, if they can put on a win against the Dragons, won't that be a contest, an undefeated Broncos versus Dolphins next week? But we're here at the Carrara, the Swans versus the Suns. It's towed forward by the Swans, and they do it again soccer style. Sam Collins plays goalkeeper at centre half back. He goes even further back inside defensive 50 for the Suns to find Jai Farah. Boy from Halls Creek kicks it to right half back. Darcy McPherson. Elijah Hollins now. He's 70 from his defensive goal, right against the boundary line, with Callum Mills now standing the mark, and he's taking his time with a long one down the line.
An orthodox drop onto his right boot from Hollins. King had it go through his hands. Rampy was there to mop up for the Swans. Releases the hand pass backward to Paddy McCartan. Jams it on the boot into the centre of the ground. Collins has to turn defender. McInerney comes steaming through. Wobbles it goalward from 65. It bounces. It rolls and it's towboat on the line. Will Hayward with the ultimate poacher's chance. Steaming back toward the goal line. Sliding in. Got a boot to it. And he's claiming full points.
Yeah, it looked like it, didn't it?
Umpire thinks so as well. McInerney had it 65 out, rolled it all the way home. Hayward's got a boot to it. The only question is, was there a Suns hand on it as well?
I reckon he's touched it as soon as it's come off his boot.
They're all set up for a put behind.
Yeah, I think he's pretty confident.
It's Constable who was going back there at pace.
Looking at this angle, we can see the ball has touched Clark.
Yeah.
And Constable's got there just in the nick of time. So the law caught up with Will Hayward, and he wasn't the winner on that occasion. First score of the quarter for the Swans is a minor one, and it's a 15-point margin.
Beautifully played there.
That shows you the desperation of the Suns. That you know, even though he did some pretty good body work there, Hayward, to get his foot to the ball, the pressure of the Suns has certainly lifted, and that is an example.
Certainly has. They play on now. Gold Coast. It's a long kick towards the commentary wing. Just floating up and spoiling it down was McDonald. Roved by Holland. Gets belted there. The ball spills out. Goes towards half-back again. Errol Gulden goes in for the Swans. He's immediately tackled into the ground, and once again we'll get a ball up. It's at the point of the centre square. It's the Swans leading by 15 points, 13 and a half gone in the second term on ABC Sport. Joel Peterson and Michael Price calling your action with Matthew Primus and Jeff White, your experts. Now it's in the hands of Larkey. He kicks it towards the 50, off hands. Franklin, front position. So does Callum Mills. Handball over to Cunningham. Standing start from 40. Oh, we love Harry. His newfound role in the forward line is going to be a very interesting one for the Sydney Swans. He gets their sixth goal. 6-5-41, plays 3-2-20. 14 gone, second term.
Well, the Suns' two young half-backs there just made the wrong decision to go and affect the contest and leave their men when they couldn't have got to the contest in time, and that was probably the first time they've been exposed this quarter. They've actually survived because Suns midfielders brought a huge amount of pressure, and they've actually been able to dictate their position then, but they just made a wrong decision in the contest, which is the young ones are going to do, and probably the first time the Swans were able to get on top of the contest for them. But yeah, game on here, but that first quarter is really going to bite the Suns on the backside with the scoreboard differential they gave the Swans.
And it puts you in two minds. If you are going to go, you're hesitant, you hedge your bet. Sometimes that's because you've got the spread, you've got the numbers coming at you to put you in two minds.
49th goal of Harry Cunningham's career, his 10th against the Gold Coast Suns, which is double the amount he's kicked against any other team. Kicked 4 against them back in 2017. So the goals he has kicked, he hasn't mind kicking them against this opposition. Parker with a spiral out of the centre of the ground after a very low bounce in the centre. Ballard did well, navigated the traffic inside the defensive 50, thumps the kick high up in the air. Parker got run down. Holman applying some tough work, comes back inside the 50 for the Swans. Farah goes upstairs, fists it away from the contest. Davies is taken in the tackle by Mills, wrenches the football free inside forward 50 for the Swans. And now Swallows got her on the back edge of the centre square for the Suns, tumbles it up toward half forward. It's all Sydney back there though. Rampy to McCartan, now to McInerney across half back.
Oh, he's dangerous kick. It bounced at the feet of McInerney, picked up by Lukosius. He toes it forward and then runs, picks it up, Tom McCartan did beautifully. Tackled Lukosius, holding the ball. And he was off to the races, wasn't he?
Fixed up his brother's mistake, didn't he? He saved his backside there.
Looked after you, Paddy, don't worry. He kicks it 20 metres forward outside the arc of 50 to find Dean Rampy, the co-captain of the Swannies. He just settles everybody down, says we'll take a little time and then go long down the line to the low go. Big fly from Logan McDonald and McLean at the base of the pack. Darcy McPherson tackled by Heaney. Still got the handball away there. And that was Jai Farah, who picked it up in rugby style, tried to get his way through the centre and was held up.
So ball up in the centre of the ground. Swans by 21, goal apiece here in this second term. We've played 16 and a half minutes. Hayward flicks the handball over his head. Warner soccers it forward. Heaney got dragged down without the football. And Alani T was right there to spot that and pay the free kick.
Momentum swung a bit here, hasn't it? The Swannies are back on top with their contest after the last 5 minutes, and the Suns have to try and answer this back now.
It's a repeat contest, isn't it? Just bang, bang.
Clearances had been 9-2 in this quarter the way of the Gold Coast, after they were at one stage 9-2 in the opening term the way of Sydney. Isaac Heaney had a shot from a similar distance at the other end of the ground. What can he do here to the northern end from right on the 50? Oof. Absolutely flushes it. Like he was on the first at Royal Pines and whacked it down the middle of the fairway. Isaac Heaney from downtown hands Sydney back a 27-point lead. 7-5-47 to the Gold Coast Suns, 3-2-20. You would have seen that kind of trajectory once or twice on the tee box, Jeff White.
10:30 this morning, Joel.
I was going to say that was his second round.
Just contest after contest from the Swans. They've worn a lot of pressure from the Suns. Suns just there was a moment there where they got the ball and they just whacked it out forward. They just got a little bit more poise I want to see from the Suns. Just get it, maybe use the hands. Don't just rampy in that. They're setting up behind the ball.
Back into the middle, Laddams. He missed the ball and went back and got it. Got shot a handball out to Chad Warner off one step. It's a high kick. Beautifully attacked by Heaney. It bounced off his chest though. There's a lot of pressure there from Long. The ball spills out in front of them both. Dylan Stevens tries to get involved. He's hovering over and one of the Suns players stuck underneath. Chad Warner's going to emerge with the ball and the free kick. It was Matt Rowell who was stuck on top of the ball. Warner kicks long inside 50. Franklin flies off his hands. Now roving it, there was Elijah Hollands, stolen off the boot of Ballard, there by Haywood, who hooks it around the body and hits the post. It was literally, Ballard was in mid-kick and Haywood stole it off his boot, but one behind is the result. 48 plays 20. Swans lead at 19 gone second term, and the Gold Coast Suns have played on quickly.
So Long's taken the mark. Took 17 of them in round 23 last year against the Swans. Career best effort. Quite the advertisement for the upcoming trade period when he made his way to the Gold Coast. Long kick from half forward. Lukosius inside the 50. Casbolt overran it. And Rampy's there to mop up for Sydney. To McInerney, to Heaney, who's got Rowbottom and Papley working to the outer side wing. He'll take the second option. He laces a 55-metre kick onto the chest of Papley. He's got McDonald over the top and elects to hold it up. Centre of the Nerang River wing. Cuts it infield for Florent. 28-point margin the way of the Swans. Almost time on here in this second term. Florent's going to hold it up as well and kick long to half forward for the Swans. Franklin. The pack all fell over and Buddy stood strong. He plays on from 55 and kicks it to absolutely no one. It touched off the boot. Lukosius thought it was a mark. He had to quickly play on. Yuland back to Witts. His kick touched. Now Heaney. And now Papley. A 12-metre pass to Warner through his hands. Buddy's back in there fighting for the football. Swallow eventually emerges with it. Handball to Lukosius, to Rowell, who had to play tunnel ball with it. Got it to Ainsworth. He goes down low. It's a slippery footy at the moment. A bizarre sequence, and finally a throw in at left half forward. 65 out from the Swans' goal.
The moisture's playing a part now, Pricey.
I reckon that humidity around about 85%, so you'd be nice and slippery there. And the players, well, the pressure being applied as well just makes it even more so. The throw in. Witts got his hands to it, but it was sharked there by Stevens. Off hands now to Errol Goulden. A long left footer to the top of the square. Big pack, and it's roved by Collins for the Suns. Shoots a handball out in front of Long. Warner puts himself in. That is a great contest, Chad Warner. He collected Ben Long, went in. Darcy McPherson grabbed the ball, and Warner just wrapped him up, put him on the ground, and the ball up is there. Great pressure.
He's a bull, isn't he? Chad Warner? Far out.
Michael Price and Joel Peterson calling it for you here on Grandstand AFL. Jeff White, Matt Primus, your experts. Jess Stewart's on the boundary with us this evening. 21 and a half gone second term. Another ball up inside forward 50 for the Swans, kicking to the northern end here in this second term. Kicked 5 unanswered goals in the opening quarter. Rowbottom a toe poke, and it floats out of bounds on the full.
They got to get a bit sharper with their setups, the Suns.
Uland infield to McPherson. Now to Ballard from the top of the defensive goal square. Lovely releasing ball to Hollands on the outer side wing, who can run and gun. Drops it into the bucket for Davies at half forward. He's called to play on. Handball to Ainsworth. And the Swans do enough to break this up. Rampy to McInerney. Handball back to Lloyd. Back to Rampy. All by hand at half back for Sydney. He reverses his field. Back to Lloyd. Back to McInerney on the outer side.
Absolutely free from panic there, the Swans, and the ball lands in the hands of Will Hayward. Dean Rampy, time slowed around him, and they're just going to run out with the ball now. The looping handball onto the run of Florent. This is a long one inside 50. Franklin nudges his opponent out. Takes the mark, 40 out, more or less directly in front, and Charlie Ballard, well, he thought the nudge I was referring to was illegal. The crowd did too, but he says, I'm having a shot at goal.
Poor decision by Davies then. They were out, but he had to know that he had somebody close to him not to play on. It would have go back off the mark. There still would have been an easy inside 50, but instead it cost his team a turnover, and Buddy has a shot on goal.
This is the poise that the Suns haven't got at the moment. Here's the difference.
First 2 goals of the match for the Swans came via the boot of Lance Franklin. He's going to let go of this ball from right on the arc of 50, or just beyond. He's tugged it a little bit to the right. And the goal umpire says it's a point as a result. 7-7-49 plays 3-2-20. 29 points the margin, Swannies lead. And we've played 23 and a half minutes of this second term on ABC Sport.
Long in from fullback. Lovely kick. Finds Witts sliding in on his knees.
One thing I've noticed in the Suns this quarter is the ability to try and play on. Witts then was trying to get the hand, so at least they've spoken about some urgency.
Witts from right half back, up the line. King turns defender and just clatters it toward the boundary line with a closed fist.
No doubt that's a trend, Whitey. The AFL is that teams are trying to move the ball really fast, go forward, aren't they? All teams are trying to do that, like the 3 games we've seen so far this week.
Especially against the Swans, where they can flood back really quickly.
All comes spinning back in, centre wing broadcast side. Laddams takes front spot. Rowbottom and Miller, 2 balls. Miller with strength, got up among the tackle and got a boot to the ball. Found Holman. He has running shotgun Flanders, who kicks inside the 50. Stretching was Davies, does the roving, throws it on the boot. A bouncing ball toward the goal mouth, taken by McInerney, backpedaling. Dangerous kick, set Mills a task. He got bumped and hammered, and then Hollands got dragged down by Florent, and he's caught holding the ball.
They dodged one there, the Swannies.
The pressure tells for Sydney.
Great defence, though.
Yeah. They just don't give you anything, do they? The Sydney Swans defence. It was a great tackle there by Florent. He measures a kick, and that is a piercing ball. It goes beyond the arc of 50 to right half back. Just Lloyd with the ball now. He's taking his time. He's held up. Goes long to the logo. Big pack of players. McLean for the Swans. Off his hands. Raoul Roves gets the handball away to his mate in Noah Anderson. He's under pressure. Handball forward to Davies. A little dinky kick just wasn't what the the Suns required. And then into Jai Farah from 70. Chips it into the central area, and that is a very strong defensive mark under pressure from Tom McCartney. Immediately flares it left. The Swans will be able to get out of here. It's a long target, and that's Tom Papley, a juggling effort. It was actually spoiled over the boundary line in front of the interchange gates. Will get a throw in. 26 gone, second term. Swans by 29 points.
Important 2 minutes here for the Suns. Definitely can't concede, and they'd love to try and get a late one like they did in the first quarter.
They can pinch a couple. Some real inroads going into half-time. Adams and Witts collide in ruck. Rowell to Flanders. Toe pokes it along the boundary line. Luckily it bounced before it went over in front of the interchange gates for a throw-in. Joel Peterson and Michael Price with you on Grandstand AFL. Great to have your company on ABC Radio, News Radio, Sport Digital, and via the ABC Listen app. Jeff White, Matthew Primus, your experts. Jess Stewart on the boundary at the MCG. D's by 20 points, 65 plays 45 over the Doggies. 5 minutes into the third term. Long kick toward half forward here. Franklin tried to juggle it for the Swans. Rowbottom pinched it off him, cruising past. Tumbles a kick inside the forward 50. Papley was limping behind play as well among all that. Now Goulden's got it 65 from home for the Swans. Chisels a kick to the pocket. Upstairs went McLean, couldn't drag it in. And we're going to, in fact, it was McDonald on that occasion. We'll have a throw in left forward pocket for the Swans, around 30 around from their goal. And Papley still limping as he makes his way to the forward 50.
He won't be limping if he gets a chance to run onto the ball in front of goal, I'll tell you. It's the left forward pocket now. The throw in is good. Witts takes it on the full handball as he gets tackled. Finds a teammate, and they'll just get out of trouble through Darcy McPherson, who sold a beautiful dummy. The crowd loved it. Long kick, went through the hands of Casbolt, who hasn't had his best night. Picked up there by Larky, kicks it towards centre half forward. It's off hands. The Suns get a chance. Swallow. He tried to find... Oh, that's a great contest from a boy in his first game. Bodie Uland and McInerney collided in the middle of the ground, and he bounced straight back up like a Super Ball. The ball goes to the outer side of the ground. Uland gets involved again. It goes towards the boundary line. McInerney as well. And the players are looking a little fatigued as the ball gets taken over the boundary line. I just get excited, an 18, 19-year-old attacking the ball like that, and bouncing straight back up.
Yeah, Bodie Uland's limping a little bit. He's copped a massive cork, I reckon.
Tough stuff from the first gamer. 29 points, the Swans lead as we near half-time. Adams reaches over the top, but it's taken by Hollands for the Suns. Clearing kick tumbles toward half forward. Florence there to pick it up. Lovely exchange with Lloyd, who then darts a kick to McDonald, and the Swans are off and running. Goulden at left half forward, caresses it inside the 50, looking for Franklin in traffic. Collins did enough to worry him out of it. Uland over the top, drops it in for McPherson. Bit of craft to get around the mark where Goulden was standing. Exchanges a 1-2 with Miller, sends it down the line. King upstairs, was he interfered with? Umpire says no.
Hey, Uland had a... no, it wasn't. It was... on the mark. He had a point. I can't think who it was. Goulden, that's right.
So the ball in between the interchange gates, just forward to centre wing here on the commentary side. It's taken there by Witts out of the ruck for the Suns, and there's a whistle on play. It looks like Witts they'll be bringing the ball back, even though Rouse kicked it to the goal square. David Swallow runs up and kicks it into the goal umpire. It's going to come all the way back to just forward to centre wing because Jared Witts was interfered with, grabbed around the leg, and he'll get the free kick. You mentioned that Jared Witts was probably getting beaten by Laddams around the ground. He's really corrected that.
He's had a big second quarter, yep.
Massive second quarter. He's got up to 13 disposals, 26 hit-outs, and 8 of those to advantage.
5 clearances as well.
He's got a big heart, the big fella. There's no doubt about that. A couple of inside 50s to go along with it. He's got the ball just forward to centre wing. It's a long kick. Joel the flyer, front and centre Holman. He's tackled into the ground, gets the handball away, and there is the siren for half-time. It is the Sydney Swans, after they led by 21 points at quarter time, who take a 29 half-time lead. 7-7-49 plays 3-2-20. And your goal scorers, you've got 5 single goal scorers for the Swans. Stevens, Heaney, McDonald, Cunningham and Papley. A couple of Lance Franklin. And for the Gold Coast Suns, David Swallow, Noah Anderson, Sam Flanders are your 3 goal scorers.
So half-time, and it's a 29-point lead to Sydney, who burst out of the blocks at one stage, leading in that opening term by 33 points. The Suns kicked the last 2 goals of the opening term, the first of the second, before the Swans added another 2 to go to half-time, up by the better part of 5 goals. Aaron Norton taking to the skies at the MCG to pull down a mark. And he's got a set shot to try and narrow the gap to 15 points, which he duly converts. Oh, as he missed that, he's kicked it over the post actually in the end. That looked like it was shaping back around the corner and it floated back the other way. It had a little bit of spin both ways on it. So 10-6-66. Melbourne to the Western Bulldogs 6-10-46. There's halfway through the third term in that one. But here at Carrara, it's a 29-point lead to the Sydney Swans, 7-7-49 to the Gold Coast Suns, 3-20. Jeff White, Matthew Primus are your experts. 5-goal ball game at half-time, Whitey. It was a better response from the Suns, but they just couldn't capitalise on the scoreboard.
No, they couldn't have, but they lifted their intensity, and that's what they wanted. I think that's probably a really strong message they sent at quarter time, because there was no urgency. But then again, when you look at the way the Suns were, not only the contested footy, but their ability to spread away from the contest and the efficiency, I think they said it was 73% in the first quarter, which is outstanding. So they needed to lift it. They needed to lift that around the stoppages, and they did that. They were able to get a bit of stability in that area. They try to play on a lot quicker. Swans like to get their numbers back, particularly on the half-back line. They love to zone off. So they were trying to get that, but it's just, they were able just to correct it. But look, the intensity was there. They lifted. They just got to get some scoreboard pressure now, and I reckon that comes down to a little bit of having a bit more poise. Not trying to blast it away. There was a bit there where Swallow could have gone back. There was numbers behind him. Davies got the mark on the half-forward line and played on where the numbers were behind him. So I think they just got to have a little bit more poise. They're working so hard to get the ball back in their hands. They've got to get the Swans defending. If they're turning it over straight away, then the Swans are whooshka. They're going. They're not working hard. They're not chasing tail. And this is what the Suns have got to get the ball back in their hands. They've got to start using the ball. They've got to start kicking it. I've been really impressed with the Swans. Their ability to just lower their eyes, and Joel, yourself, and Price, you have mentioned about the way being able just to kick those darts and just spreads and brings the defenders forward, so you can't zone if you have to push up. So it's been a good first half from the Swans.
Look, great first half. You nailed it there, Whitey. The Suns came out for 15 minutes and they brought the heat. They brought the Swans' efficiency well down, but they weren't able to sustain it, or the Swans lifted to match what the Suns were doing. And then as the game, or that quarter wore on, the actually Suns got tired and the Swans were able to continue that level, and then they dropped off, and then they're able to get a couple of little nice goals just through hard work and a little bit of skill and some poor decision making. But yeah, the golfing experience and the ability to play at a certain level for 60 minutes so far is the difference at the moment. So it's going to be a really tough second half here for the Suns, but we want to see what they're made of. This is an opportunity to see in front of their home fans if they can bounce back in the second half and attack the scoreboard, get a little bit closer, and as it grinds out a little bit more. But if this gap stays it's in these conditions, it's really hard to try and peg back 4 or 5 goals.
In terms of their forward line structure, we spoke even in the pre-game about the fact that Lukosius up the ground, so it was King, Chol, Casbolt inside the forward 50. King's got to enough contests, he's got his hands to it, he just looks like he's maybe short of a run and a little bit of touch. What have you made of that forward line structure in the opening half?
Well, they haven't. I'm not sure what the score source, but I would have thought whatever they've kicked, most of it's come from stoppage, or some forward stoppage or pressure in the forward 50. They haven't flowed the ball nicely, so we haven't been able to see the forwards get one-on-one and have some easy delivery like the Swans did in that first quarter. So we really haven't been able to see those targets work for them. And then as the game goes on, I think it's going to be a bit of their Achilles heel, having 3 of them out of there if they're not getting enough of the ball, because it's going to bounce out of there with the Swans' smaller defenders. Like Rampy's had a huge amount of the ball, and a lot of their backs have, because they've been able to run it out because the Suns' tall forwards. It hasn't quite worked tonight, but that's more to do with the pressure up the field. The Swans haven't allowed that to take an advantage of, and you can count on one hand how many times King's been in a one-on-one, or Child has, or Casbolt has, where the Swans have had a lot more one-on-ones in their forward 50 throughout the game.
It seems a bit open when it's going down the forward line for the Swans.
Yep.
They've got Buddy one out, they've got Isaac Heaney one out,
yep.
so they're all working for each other, where it feels like when it goes inside forward 50 for the Suns, you've got Chol, you've got Casbolt, you've got King, they're all jumping for the same ball. So they've got to work for each other. They've got to have a bit of sacrifice running, the ability to work off and take the opponent, take into a non-dangerous area, so allows the other player to come through. So you got a little bit more synergy up forward, because as we've seen with both the McCutton brothers, they've been they're spoiling the ball, bringing it to ground, and then Wooshka, they're getting their half forwards, they're getting their half backs down there, their midfielders just to clean up.
In terms of those score sources you mentioned, Matty, so 2 goals, 2 of the 3 goals, 2 for the Suns have come from stoppages.
Yeah.
Of the Swans, 7 goals, 7, 5 goals, 4 of that have come from general play.
And that's the modern game. And 10 years ago, it used to be stoppages dominant score source. Now it's all off the turnover, and you might kick 3 or 4 for the game. And so the Suns are generating enough from stoppages, but that's not going to be enough to win you the game. And if you look at their guys who, Tuke, Miller, Anderson, they're the guys who can link up between the middle of the ground. But I'm just going through. They haven't had a huge amount of ball, but I haven't seen any link up. It's just been all contested, quick kick, in tight kind of stuff. They haven't been able to get any flow, and that's a little bit to do with the half backs of the Suns haven't been given much drive either. But we need a bit of lift from those guys to be able to link up to give their forwards a better look at it.
And they have been broadly reliant on that score source. So I think they outscored their opposition by 17 points in terms of scores from stoppages last year, which was the second best rate in the competition. So how can you broaden that? Part of that is the efficiency that Brad Miller spoke about, but then their uncontested numbers are pretty low as far as the competition goes. So then you need the link up. It's Miller and it's Anderson. It's those outside runners.
And then you have that poise too, like we said, with Davies takes that mark. They've had a quick play off the half back line. He marks it. All the numbers are behind him, and he plays on. Just go back, wheel around off the mark, and then hit the fat side. That's where Charles going to be. Casbolt might lead at you, but you're going to have Charles go on the other side because he's a left footer. So just got to have a bit more poise, I think.
So they're building the understanding, the Suns. You can see it in patches, but they just haven't been able to string it together too much as yet. The thoughts of Matt Primus and Jeff White at halftime here at Carrara. It is a 29-point lead to the Sydney Swans at the MCG. 20 points to spread the Dogs and the D's. It is Melbourne 11-6-72 to the Western Bulldogs 7-10-52. Goal kickers in that game so far. Cozzy Pickett has 3. Ben Brown has 3. Max Gawn has 2. Charlie Spargo has 2. Tom Sparrow, the only single goal kicker for the Demons. All single for the Dogs. Hugo Hagen, Norton, Bontempelli, Johannesson, Oscar Baker on debut against his former side, Bailey Williams and Adam Treloar. In terms of disposals, Treloar has 24, Petrarca 22, so too Caleb Daniel for the Dogs. So a 20-point lead to the D's at the MCG. Halftime here at Carrara, 29-point lead to the Swans. Plenty more to come from here on the Gold Coast. That's all on the other side of the latest from ABC News.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. Locals in the far west of New South Wales are avoiding the Darling River at all costs, saying the stench is unbearable after millions of fish died. Bill Ormond explains.
The amount of fish that are dead is presenting a challenge in itself. You look back to 2018, 2019, those fish kills made international headlines, and the level of fish that were dead here exceeds all 3 of those fish kills combined. So they had a number of crews scooping out dead fish in 2019, but it would require just an absurd amount of crews in the water actually scooping up fish, and you'd have to mobilise them almost immediately, or them have already been mobilised. And without the sort of forewarning that we had that this might take place to this scale, a lot of locals don't think it's possible for anything substantial to actually mount in the coming days.
US President Joe Biden says the International Criminal Court is right to issue an arrest warrant for his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. The ICC is accusing Mr. Putin of responsibility for taking children from occupied areas of Ukraine to Russia. It's the first time the global court's issued a warrant against the leader of one of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. Mr. Biden says Mr. Putin has clearly committed war crimes.
Well, I think it's justified, but the question is, not recognized internationally by us either, but I think it makes a very strong point.
Meanwhile, Russia says it will extend a deal that allows Ukraine to export grain and expires today, but only for half of the original 120 days. Sam Wilkinson reports.
The UN's humanitarian chief says extending the deal is crucial to ensure global food supplies and keeping prices from spiralling as they did after Russia invaded. Now, Russia's UN ambassador says Moscow is ready to extend the deal, but only for 60 days. The deal, brokered between Russia and Ukraine by the UN and Turkey, allows Ukraine, one of the world's key bread baskets, to ship food and fertiliser from 3 of its Black Sea ports. Under the initiative, millions of tonnes of foodstuff has been exported, including food aid to support humanitarian operations in Afghanistan, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia and Yemen.
Genetic material collected at a Chinese market near where the first human cases of COVID-19 were detected could suggest the pandemic may have originated from animals and not in a lab. Brendan Arrow has more.
The genetic analysis of samples collected from the market in Wuhan show raccoon dog DNA commingled with the COVID-19 virus. The canines, named for their raccoon-like faces, are often bred for their fur and sold for meat in animal markets across China. The origins of the COVID-19 pandemic is still unclear, with one of the theories being of animal-to-human transmission, while another suggests it leaked from a laboratory in Wuhan. The new analysis hasn't appeared in a peer-reviewed journal and hasn't been verified by experts, but some epidemiologists say it makes it more likely the virus did originate in the wild.
The government of the Netherlands says 2 vaccines tested by a Dutch veterinary research centre have proven effective against the highly infectious bird flu. It says the results come from the first experiment conducted in controlled environment. The government says not only did the trial vaccines give poultry protection against disease symptoms, but they also countered the spread of bird flu. Pre-polling booths have opened across New South Wales today ahead of next Saturday's state election. Here's Jamel Wells.
Locations across the state for pre-polling are available on the New South Wales Electoral Commission website. They're open until Friday. Those eligible to vote in person before election day include people who'll be out of the state, travelling or at work. Carers and those who believe attending a voting centre on election day will put their personal safety at risk can vote at a pre-polling booth. The criteria also includes people in jail, those with a serious illness and those with religious beliefs that prevent them from attending a voting centre next Saturday.
Wallabies back Reece Hodge has suffered a significant finger injury and will require surgery in the Rebels' 44 points to 25 Super Rugby Pacific defeat to the Chiefs in Hamilton. The Chiefs scored 6 tries to 4 as they picked up a 4th straight bonus points win, inflicting the Rebels' 3rd defeat of the season. Dolphins' second rower Felice Kafusi is facing a possible 4-game suspension for a late tackle in last night's win over Newcastle in the NRL. Kafusi was sent to the sin bin for the tackle on the Knights halfback Jackson Hastings. If the former Storm player provides an early guilty plea, he'll be banned for 3 games. ABC News. Get more news at any time by downloading the ABC Listen app.
Simone Young is one of the most talented conductors of her generation.
When I started, I faced considerable opposition.
Executive producer Kate Blanchett takes us into the world of one of our greatest conductors.
In 1991, there were no women conductors.
What does being a woman have to do with conducting?
She's not afraid to just be a boss.
Simone Young, Knowing the Score.
It is magic.
Tuesday, March 21st on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Anderson toe pokes it inside the forward 50. King goes sliding through the pack. 40 metres out. Swallow hooks it around the body. Bouncing ball. How will it bounce? Very well indeed. A little bit of a scrimmage in the goal square in the aftermath. And the Suns with an instant goal here in this second term.
Franklin, front position. So does Callum Mills. Handball over to Cunningham. Standing start from 40. Oh, we love Harry. His newfound role in the forward line is going to be a very interesting one for the Sydney Swans. He gets their 6th goal.
Hayward flicks the handball over his head. Warner soccers it forward. Heaney got dragged down without the football. Isaac Heaney had a shot from a similar distance at the other end of the ground. What can he do here to the northern end from right on the 50? Absolutely flushes it. Isaac Heaney from downtown.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Great to have you with us on your Saturday night, round 1 of the 2023 season. And it is the Swans by 29 at the main change, 7-7 to 3-2 over the Gold Coast Suns here at Carrara. Despite a 4-2 record for Stuart Dew against the Swans, the team which he spent 7 years with as an assistant coach hasn't gone the Suns' way so far in the opening half. But a better second term showing. They just need put a little bit more of it on the scoreboard. Joel Peterson and Michael Price calling the action for you. Jeff White and Matt Primus, your experts, and Jess Stewart is on the boundary for us this evening at the MCG. The Demons 12-7-79 defeated the Western Bulldogs, or leading the Western Bulldogs, I should say, 8-10-58. A minute to go in the third term at the G. A couple with 3 goals for the Ds, including Cozzy Pickett. At the Adelaide Oval earlier today, a big win to Port Adelaide over the Brisbane Lions, the heavily favoured Brisbane Lions coming into the start of the season. And Port, despite trailing for most of the first half, and in fact trailing at half-time pretty comprehensively by 12 points, and the Lions had built the lead further at the start of the third term. Port Adelaide kicked 8 goals in the third quarter to 1 and 5 goals to 2 in the final term to run out 18-18, 126 to 11-6, 72 winners. Todd Marshall kicked 4 for the Power. Charlie Dixon kicked 3 goals, 3. Lockie Jones kicked 3. Junior Rioli kicked 3 for the Power. That'd put a smile on the faces of those out at Alberton, I'd imagine, Matty Primus.
I think the biggest smile might be Ken Hinkley.
Yes.
He's been under his job's up for grabs November, December, January, February, March, wasn't it? And while it doesn't ease up again come round 2, but yeah, there would be a lot of satisfied people after that. And you know, as you said, they were one of those teams that just missed the 8, that had some games go against them, but they started on a really strong note, and a lot of youth that's coming through. The Rosies and all those kind of players are really standing up and playing at a pretty high level. For round 1 anyway.
Best player in the competition, Connor Rosie, Matty Primus. Well, best to watch.
He's lovely to watch.
Such a jet. He is an absolute star, is that young man. Zach Bailey, who's in the conversation as well. He kicked 2 goals today for the Lions. And Daniel Rich had 26 disposals. A heavy collision at one stage involving Kitty Coleman and Josh Dunkley. Coleman was, I think, subbed out of that game in the end, or in fact, I don't think he was subbed out of the game. I think James Tunstall might have been subbed out of the game in the end of that one, but he had 15 disposals. He got collected pretty heavily by Josh Dunkley. Will Ashcroft with 13 disposals and a goal on debut. Speaking of debuts, 34 disposals for Harry Sheasel for North Melbourne today, so he pencils in as the $1.10 favourite to get the Rising Star nod in round 1. 12-15-87 North Melbourne to the West Coast Eagles. 12-10-82. Nick Larkey kicked 6 from 7 kicks for the Roos. Liam Ryan kicked 3 for the Eagles, including one of the great dummies you'll ever see in the forward pocket at one stage, where he sold Will Phillips absolutely out of his shoes. But North just holding on to win over the Eagles. Of course, Collingwood and Richmond and Carlton. Collingwood won last night. Richmond and Carlton drew to open up the season. The other games to complete round 1 tomorrow. GWS and Adelaide, that's at Giants Stadium. Hawthorn Essendon at the MCG. St Kilda and Freo at Docklands. And you can hear all of that via the AFL Listen app, or the ABC Listen app. Just head to the AFL or the AFL Extra button wherever you are. In the NRL, full time at Lang Park, and the Broncos have run over the top of the Dragons. That game was tied up at 18 apiece with 20 minutes remaining, and the Broncos have scooted away to win 40-18. So
holy dooly,
Broncos
40.
Broncos Dolphins is going to be something pretty special next Friday night, Pricey.
You won't be able to find a spot around the stadium at Lang Park next week. It will be ridiculous.
Won't be a park in Brisbane, anywhere, for anything. Just don't even bother.
Just outside of Brisbane, the Dolphins have reinvigorated that particular code. Not that we actually are concentrating on it right now.
Absolutely. It's a 29-point lead to the Swans. We're here at Carrara. Second half underway. Here's Pricey.
Jared Witts gets it down. Matt Rowell, his handball misses the target in Swallow, so he goes back and helps. His kick smothered though. Swans immediately putting the pressure on. Papley with a deft kick off the ground, picked up by Warner. Back to Papley from 45. What a start! What a start for the Sydney Swans in the second half. And once again, it's those X-factor skills of Papley and Warner that get it done. Superb. 8-7-55, plays 3-2-20. The second goal there for Tom Papley. 2 goals. I actually had him down for a behind. 2 straight goals. So 8-7-55, plays 3-2-20. 35 points to the margin, boys. That's not the start the Suns wanted.
That's a different. Just clean off the ground. Like that was.
Yeah, compared to Rao, who won it, handballed when he shouldn't have, that just got smothered, then kicked it and then got smothered himself again. And then Papley, they would just use their speed to break away. But yeah, just the consistency is wide. He said one team, when they got the ball, they break away, take advantage of it. The other team run into trouble.
So the first centre bounce of each quarter has resulted in a score. Noah Anderson in the first, David Swallow in the second, and now Tom Papley in the third. Centre clearance for the Suns here as it was socked out of the middle of the ground. Holman rips it away from the contest, kicks to full forward. Bouncing ball for Tom McCartan at full back. Handballs around the corner. Ben King keeps him honest. It slapped out toward McInerney, who wanted no part of keeping that alive, and just sidestepped it across the boundary line. Thrown back in front of the scoreboard. 8-7 the Swans, 3-2 the Suns. Game high 35-point lead the way of Sydney. Witts works his way to front spot. McInerney barrels over a couple. Lovely hands from Miller to Jeffrey. Hooks it around the body and it's juggled off the chest of Tom McCartan before he clutches it back in. Takes the mark on the last line for the Swans.
Once again, they just hold it up looking for the right movement. That's a beautifully placed kick to the lead of Isaac Heaney. He takes it at right half back. He looks back inboard to go inside defensive 50, but instead opts to go long down the line to the wing. Charlie Ballard read that best off the boot and beat McLean to the ball. He smacked it over the boundary line. Luke Parker not happy about that situation, and the ball's going to be thrown in right in front of us here in the ABC commentary box. Crowd a little stunned after that start from the Swans in the third quarter. Shallow throw in. Laddam's got his hands to it. Swallow got there first at ground level and received a free kick for a push in the back from McInerney. He's right on the logo, right in front of us.
Plays game 200 in a couple of weeks, does Dave Swallow. Scoots around a tackle, kicks inside the 50. Rampy upstairs. Chol reached over the top to knock it away from him, and eventually it found its way out to the boundary line at the junction of the 50 and the boundary, a left half forward.
Rampy's been good coming off his man tonight.
Super, hasn't he? Super.
And he's playing on Chol right now, which is giving away plenty of centimetres, just reading the play so well.
Plus 20 disposals to go for Dane Rampy, so he's had plenty of it, as well as his defensive work. McInerney at the stoppage, handballs to the ruckman in Laddams, got it away to Parker, great tackle Holman. He got Chad Warner in the vice grip as soon as he got the footy, threw him to the turf, and a ball up at left half forward for the Suns. Swallow slides through, sockers it to Ainsworth. He claimed the mark on the paint of the 50, not paid, not the distance. And a ball up now right on the paint of the arc.
Need the DRS, I reckon that was a bump ball. Witts takes it out of the ruck on the arc of 50, kicks it 30 metres in the air and 20 forward. Off hands now, Swans. That was a lightning reflex kick out of traffic there. That came from Heaney. He kicked it into the middle of the ground. It's returning back to the goal square now. Chol on the ground, has a go at it. He's getting held off the ball. It was beautiful work there from Blakey, who rushed the ball through for one behind.
Just their last two inside 50s, like Ballard's then just bombed it in. Dave Swallow got one when he broke away from the stoppage and bombed it out wide. They're the little things that they're going to make it difficult for the Suns to get the scoreboard ticking over with those inside 50 entries.
Swans come straight up the pipe here. It was Mills away. to Warner inside the 50. Heaney with the rise, kept it in front of him. Constable just slaps it on, finds Miller at half-back. Rowell loops the handball out wide, stepping through his long for the Suns. He loops his handball infield. Now a chance for Davies. It opens up, sends it inside the 50. King went past it, touched off the hand, found its way to Chol, throws on the boot to full forward. Jeffries, a play, a snap, a goal. Joel Jeffrey kicks the Suns fourth and closes the gap once more, all the way back to 28 points. 4-3-27 to 8-7-55. Still the Swans in charge before the thoughts of Matt Primus and Jeff White. Let's go boundary side to Jess Stewart.
Just have to give a shout out tonight, guys, to an AFL umpire making his debut here tonight as well. Obviously, we always talk about players making their debut, but Andy Adair, wearing number 36, he's making his debut at Queensland. Field umpire who has been on the list here for a long time and finally gets his chance to make his debut with the addition of a fourth field umpire tonight. So I just wanted to give him a shout out.
Congratulations to Andrew Adair, adorned in the number 36. There's actually umpire Hocking, who throws the ball up in the middle now. Off the hands of Laddams, it's towed forward now for the Gold Coast Suns. Back inside attacking 50. Chol led the charge for the ball, couldn't quite control it. Paddy McCartan picks it up for the Swans and just bangs it long down the corridor. Good contest there. Well done by Ben Long. Couldn't quite control it. Exploding onto it, Parker. He tows it forward. Franklin smacks it back into his path. He chips it forward. The man in the goal square by himself is Logan McDonald. Accepts it and then kicks it almost onto the roof of the stadium here at Carrara. He gets his second. The Swans get their ninth. 9-7-61, plays 4-3-27. It's now 34 points to the margin. 6.5 gone third term.
Once again, it's just the ability to win it on the ground. They just they fumbled a little bit. They had numbers there. That was 3-on-1. There's a little toe poke there from, I think it might have been Parker actually, and then Parker was able to just kick it over. So their forward run, once the ball's on the ground and they could see that their teammate's going to win the ball, just their ability to run forward, offensive run from the Swans is so powerful.
Very, very fleet of foot operation, the Sydney Swans. Showing their wares. Logan McDonald joins Franklin and Papley as the multiple goal scorers in the game for Sydney. Brendan Hosking bounces it down once more in the centre ground. Witts goes to work and Goulden, clean as you like, picks it up in the right hand, disposes of it with the left boot toward half forward. Hayward charges it down, slaps it to Flanders. He thought he was held without it, then Hayward did as well. Collins comes steaming through. Handball to Hollands at half-back. His handball pinched by Papley. He releases it to Stevens. Steps through a couple for the Swans. Eyes the sticks. Sends it toward full forward. Off the hands of Heaney. Slapped around the behind post in the end, and it goes out for a boundary throw in left forward pocket, southern end here at Carrara. Margin 34 the way of the Swans. 7.5 gone in the third.
The throw in about to occur right next to the left point post. Witts versus Logan McDonald in the ruck. McDonald gets into the front position. Front and square was Papley. Under a lot of pressure from McPherson. He still picked the ball up. Then McPherson extracted the ball from him. Good pressure. Ends up into the hands of Rowell, who drills it down the outer wing. Cut off there by Dane Rampy, who's having some kind of game. Puts it out to the boundary line, Paddy McCartan, and they'll just slow things down again. Rampy up to 21 disposals. Make it 22 because he's just received it back from Paddy McCartan. He's level with the back end of the centre square.
It's a momentum killer, isn't it? When you're going forward and the backman mark it. Rampy's just been superb tonight.
Slowed it right down. Heaney was the target. Went through his hands. Ben Long picks it up. Long down the wing again through the hands of Casbolt at the back. Paddy McCartan. It's a wobbler across half back, but it's safe enough, and Lloyd takes the mark. And once again, the Swans will reload.
So often it's been in the Swans era of recent times. If it's not Rampy, it's Lloyd. And now from kickouts at least, it's been Blakey in recent years. Out Stevens on the wing, leaks the arch the back, scoots away, kicks up toward Franklin over the top of Collins, held the position well in the end. And then Hewland goes after him, brings Buddy down, but he got the handball away to Hayward for the Swans, who kicks to full forward. Stretching up was McDonald. It's fisted through for a rush behind by the Suns' defence. Makes the margin 35 once more, 9-8 to 4-3. 9.5 played in the third term.
Sorry, go on.
The Suns have brought it back in very, very quickly. It was cut off right on the arc of 50, and now it's in the hands of Lloyd, 55 from goal. Just about every player on the paddock, in fact, every player on the paddock is in front of the centre circles. And now Lloyd, Jake Lloyd, is lining up as if to shoot for goal, and then he changes his mind and just drills it to a vacant space occupied by Oliver Florent. 45 out directly in front, poor marking from the Gold Coast Suns.
And we look at where the Suns are positioned, the defenders, they're now all pointing, all of them are pointing, but yet there was a gap 45 metres out. They're all sucked back to about the 30-metre mark, all on the line. There was no zoning.
Oliver Florent takes his time. He's off the long run too. Let's go from right on the paint of 50. Delightful. Absolutely picture-perfect kick. 10 goals, 8, 68 are the Sydney Swans. 4-3-27 the Gold Coast Suns. It's a 41-point margin. I think the crowd's a bit stunned. I'm a little stunned there too.
It is. It was symbolic before that the Suns were out fast and they ended up kicking to three of their forwards all lumped together with three of the Swans' backs, and the Swans' backs will eat that ball today. Then they got their counter-attack. Then it goes inside Sydney's forward 50, and it's 1v1s. Their shape, and you mentioned before, Whitey, their ability to isolate the Suns' defenders is chalk and cheese compared to the Suns, and this is getting pretty dangerous territory. I know it's only round one, but the Suns are really poor last week in their last hit out against the Giants in Sydney, and they've continued in that vein here, and they wouldn't want to let this turn out to a real shellacking early in the first round of the season. This could be a real danger game just for their momentum and their psyche.
Back in the middle. And the Swans continue to charge at the Suns team. Goulden takes it out of the centre. Taken by Parker, off to Cunningham, toward McDonald. Couldn't mark. They are everywhere, the Swans. Warner picks it up, shoots at goal. It misses. But it is coming in a tidal wave at the moment toward the Gold Coast. Margin 42 the way of Sydney.
As we get the young man in Bodie Hewland playing on for the Gold Coast Suns. He goes long down the outer side, juggling effort, not taken by Hollands, or Davies it was. Got the handball out to Hollands, who scrubbed it by foot. Down the wing, across the boundary line on the outer side. Jess Stewart's on the boundary.
So the Suns look like they might be about to make the tactical substitution. I just saw them handing over their placard to the interchange bench, and it looked like the number 8 was written Brendan Fiorini for Levi Casbolt's number 30. So I'll keep you up to date if that substitution does actually happen, but perhaps a tactical substitution about to be made.
Well, perhaps not a bad thing. A runner for a large tall is not a bad thing for the Gold Coast Suns at this stage. Charlie Ballard has the ball now. Reliable defender, gives the handball off there. Constable goes long down the outer side. Scholl through his hands. Paddy McCartan in the front position picked it up. Had the ball stripped out of his hands, and Blakey, just as a goalkeeper, accepts the ball, drills it straight up the corridor towards Luke Parker. He battles along, gets the ball taken off him, then still toes it through. Again, it's off the deck. Errol Goulden gets it, has a bounce, gets onto that trusty left of his. Oh, it's a big one. It bounces. It's a goal. It's absolutely going to kill the Gold Coast Suns. 11-9, 75. The Suns are 4-3-27. The Sydney Swans now lead by 48 points.
Just toying with them.
I love that in the middle, though. The ball was there, and just that little toe poke. He knew that his teammate was there. It's that lateral vision, that awareness to know that your man's there. He's free. Hey, instead of me picking up the ball, it's just a little toe poke.
But that's the thing, you don't have to actually possess the ball. The deft tap on the little toe poke, they're doing it all.
Does it say in the rule book of the AFL that you have to pick it up? No, just a little toe poke.
Especially in these conditions.
Yeah, it's intelligent footy.
That's twice they've done it this quarter now that's resulted in a goal.
Errol Goulden some space, and they're in trouble. Let's go downstairs to Jess Stewart.
So that tactical substitution has been made with Braden Fiorini now in the jersey for the Suns.
Thank you, Jess. He was best on ground when these two sides met last time. Braden Fiorini with 3 Brownlow votes. See if he can have an impact here in these later stages. Clearance out of the middle for the Suns, but the McCartans repel it. First Tom, then Paddy for the Swans, only as far as Lukosius, who stabs it inside the 50. And finally we get a chance to see Ben King with the ball in his hands. He's marked it 40 metres out, 5 in from the boundary left of centre.
Maybe that's where that tactical, that's the first time we've had a clearance with either Chol or Casbolt or King leading inside forward 50 for a mark.
So Ben King on the runway, back from injury, and on the runway in toward goal here, sends it on its way, and the Suns fans celebrate the return of the King. Ben is back and drills a beautiful set shot from the boundary line. And the margin is narrowed back to 42. 5-3-33 to the Swans, 11-9-75. Just a beautiful set shot kick from Ben King.
Well, and well set up. Good execution there. They had a bit of... It was a rebound back inside that forward 50, but at least they're able to be on it. At least they'll be able to have leading at the ball. That's what they need. They need a bit more of that from the Suns.
Well, Jared Witts is playing a monumental game for the Suns. He's got 16 disposals now. He's actually kept Laddams down to around about 12, and he's actually got 33 hit-outs, 9 to advantage, with Laddams 13 and 3. So, manful performance from the big man. He's having a rest now, and Mab Chol's going to go into the ruck to give him a chop out. Wins this tap. Gets the ball down to Swallow, who kicks it high in the air. Floats to the wing. Fisted down by Stevens. He ends up with the ball around his feet. Another deft touch forward to Braden Campbell. He got tackled beautifully though by Ainsworth. He let loose the ball and Ainsworth wins the free kick for incorrect disposal. Immediately he plays on. The handball to the run of Flanders. Kicking it in to the forward pocket and waiting down beautifully. Once again, Rampy. He just reads the ball beautifully as defender and fisted the ball out of the hands of Joel Jeffrey over the boundary line.
They're great to watch, the good defenders. They defend the ball. They don't defend their man. They just watch what the kicker's doing, pressure on him, and then they go where they know the ball's going to go.
Darcy Moore put on a bit of a show of it last night for Collingwood, didn't he? He and Murphy just leaving their man 35 metres off the ball and doing as they please. Free kick here to Campbell inside defensive 50 for the Swans. He'll be keen to try and cement a spot. Former first-round draft pick of Sydney from a couple of years ago. In and out of the team, he was the sub in the grand final, 17 games last season. Here's the run from Blakey. Hasn't he become famous for that in recent seasons? Up toward Cunningham. You can't mention Harry Cunningham without saying he's from Wagga. Cheerio to Quentin Hull, who'll be listening no doubt. Nick Blakey toe-poked it forward, got it about 7 metres. Straight to Constable, who skied it up toward the broadcast side wing. Stevens was there for the Swans. Now to Campbell, left foot kick off a step, thumps it inside the 50. McDonald brought it down. Goulden was waiting there for it. McPherson was waiting for him. And then it was dragged back into the mess, and we'll have a ball up 45 metres out from the Swans' goal. Southern end, it's Sydney by 42, 17 minutes played third term.
Love a good Riverina reference. The ball gets slapped into the hands of Matt Rowell.
Just got to meet the quota.
Exactly right, 1 a week. Gets kicked down to the commentary wing. Blakey and Flanders tangle, and then Blakey toes it forward of centre wing. Kept the ball in for Sydney. Did well. Stevens picks it up, just hooks it inside the attacking 50. It was saved by Darcy McPherson, handballed it over to Bodie Hewland, who duly fumbled it over the boundary line. And Buddy Franklin, one of the best ever in your debut, says, well done, young lad, and gives him some. He'll remember that for the rest of his life, the throw-in on the pate of 50 in front of the small scoreboard, showing the Swans leading by 42 points. It's taken there by the Swannies. Tackled down in the ground. That was a high tackle. Advantage paid. There was no advantage there, but there's another high tackle on Mills, and it's getting a little scrappy out there as Ben Long gets involved. Callum Mills now will receive the free kick, and this isn't out of his wheelhouse. He's a 45-degree angle to the right, and he'll have to let go from the paint of 50 or just to the right of the mark. He can give it a good roost. Right to the paint, and that is a magnificent drop punt. Callum Mills, a superb goal for the Sydney Swans. 12-9-81, plays 5-3-33. We're back to a 48-point margin in favour of the Swannies, 19 gone third term, ABC Sport. Jess Stewart's on the boundary.
After that collision just then, Justin McInerney, the high tackle, he was pulled from the field by the doctor and taken straight down to the room. So you'd have to think that will be a head injury assessment just after that high contact, and he did get up a little bit gingerly. So I'll keep you up to date with that one.
Looked like shoulder on shoulder sort of thing, but maybe a little bit of the head just as a precaution. But just once again, just showing their ability, the Swans' ability to win the contested ball. They're first to the ball. They're much harder than the Suns, showing on the scoreboard.
So that margin's gone back and forth between 42 and 48 in this term. Jeff White, Matthew Primus, your experts. Joel Peterson, Michael Price calling it for you on Grandstand AFL. Jess Stewart on the boundary, providing the update on Justin McInerney. Out of the middle, Miller for the Suns. High kick to centre half forward. Florent comes back the other way. Kick to space, looking for Goulden on the outer side wing. Bouncing ball picked up by Farah. Draws supporting Collins. Little tumbling kick down the boundary line. Probably hasn't done enough to keep that in. That's clearly deliberate. And it'll be a free kick on the outer side, going the way of Florent, who immediately turns it over. And it's going to be a throw in between the wing and left half forward here for Sydney. Kicking to the southern end here in this third term. Swans have kicked 5 goals, 2 in the quarter thus far. Suns have kicked 2 goals, 1, which is equal with their most profitable term so far. But Sydney with all the running here in this third period of play. Warner from the stoppage. Tumbling kick in field. Parker went without it. So too Farah. On the front point of the square for the Swans. Swallow extricates it somehow. Bounces his kick up toward Holman, who surges after it. Kicks toward King. Going down low was Tom McCartan. Did really well in the end. Great ground ball win. Flicks the handball up to Stevens, who found Laddams short by foot.
They just don't have a weak link, do they, the Swans? Hence the reason why they made the grand final last year. But the ability to work for each other and have so much good balance. Now they're letting the Suns are defending now. They're wearing them down.
So Braden Campbell goes back inside defensive 50 to find Dane Rampy. Disposal number 23 for him, and it's a beauty. It's his teammate Paddy McCartan on the chest, and then he goes back out wide left to find Campbell. Looping handball over the top to Stevens. Standing start to the wing. Comes off hands. Roved with aggression by Hayward at ground level. Picked up by Parker after the handball, and Sam Collins buries him into the Carrara turf. Just forward of centre wing. No mean feat when you can bury Sam Collins, who's a tough customer. Umpire will ball it up on the outer side.
So Fiorini, as Jess said earlier, subbed into the game. Casbolt out for the Suns, and Matt Roberts still unused as the sub for Sydney. Of course, don't have to have a reason to use the sub this season. It is no longer the medical sub. Can be used as a tactical manoeuvre, as the Suns have done. Davies now off to Miller, kicks the Suns inside the forward 50. Jeffrey took his eyes completely off the ball, got the ride over the pack and gave away a free kick. And here go the Swans again. Florent finds McLean with the kick. Over the back is Papley, and that's a dangerous place for him to be. 49 out, he slipped and then couldn't grasp the football, and McPherson did well, kept cool in the crisis, swung it to Constable, who shifts it across the line inside the defensive 50 and finds the big fella in Witts.
He sweeps a handball to Touk Miller, directing traffic, and kicks it into the lead of King, who was pushed into the ball. Could have got a free kick, but he dropped it as he landed on the logo out of side. Ball in the hands of Parker. Corridor, he hits row bottom. It's a weird kick, but it finds Hayward on the arc. Handball back to McLean. Kicks it inside 50 through the hands of McDonald. They've got a chance, the Suns. Jeffrey, handball now back to McPherson. To Charlie Ballard from a standing start. He gets it just to the arc of 50. He'll turn it over. The Swans now. Hayward, under enormous pressure from Lukosius, keeps it in, and then it's taken over the line under the small scoreboard by Elijah Hollins. Finally, and will get a throw in. He actually went over the boundary line, stepped back in, the umpire didn't see it.
A lot
He
of
was
tired
blindsided
players,
though.
isn't there, Pricey? A lot of guys running up and down the ground from both teams here in trying conditions.
Well, it is 85% humidity. It's like playing in Darwin, let's put it that way.
Very warm conditions on the Gold Coast here this evening. Free kick going to the Swans here at the stoppage at the MCG. D's by 43. Have absolutely run away with it in the second half. And Heaney has the free kick here. He had a shot from this distance in the first term and missed. He had a shot at the other end in the second term and drilled it. Paddy McCartan's limping off downstairs as well. Hopefully that's just a little bit of cramp. So Isaac Heaney, 45-degree angle right of centre. He'll have to kick it from 53 metres out. Deliberate in his approach. Tugs it left. Has it got the carry? Yes. And it's a minor score to the Swans. And the lead is out to 49 points for Sydney. That's as big as it's been in the ball game.
Gold Coast Suns to bring it back in. Long kick to half-back. Mills, a spectacular spoil. Puts it onto the arc. Rowbottom picks it up, gets a handball away, and that's intercepted there by Flanders. He's actually scragged off the ball by Warner. Warner goes back, wins the ball. He kicks the ball back inside the corridor and back inside the centre square to Laddams. Laddams plays on. It's a monster left foot into the pocket. Big fly there from McDonald. It went through his hands. Chance for the Suns. Jared Witch just volleyballs it back to the arc of 50. It's accepted by Holman. Tackled. Lets loose the ball to Anderson. He's under pressure. Kicks it straight up in the air. It's taken off hands. Swallow tracks it back. McLean for the Swans couldn't get it. Hacked forward for the Suns. And it's all Swans through Laddams as he gets the handball over to Dylan Stevens.
So Stevens backtracks, draws some support, chips it forward. Great defence from Ballard, charging out, thumps it away from Heaney and goes out for a stoppage on the outer side. Let's go downstairs on the boundary is Jess Stewart.
So Paddy McCartan did take his left boot off and they are strapping that left ankle. So in a little bit of discomfort at the moment, and we haven't seen a sign yet of Justin McInerney after he did have that head knock before. So obviously getting that head injury assessment, which is normally about a 15-minute period.
Thanks, Jess. Miller wins a free kick at the stoppage on the outer side, comes in field, messy kick to Ainsworth, really made him work for his bickies there. And Parker was diving in on top of the football for the Swans to lock things up in the centre of the ground. 49 points the lead of the Swans. They're led by 21 at quarter time, 29 at half time, and have really kicked away here in this third period on Grandstand AFL. Stevens shrugs the tackle. Handball over the top to Warner. Now to the run of Campbell. Three of the young guns inside 50 to McLean. An absolute dart of a kick. And McLean just had to spring off 2 feet and pull it in 45 out on a 45-degree angle to the left.
That passage just sums up the Swans tonight. They win the ground ball, quick hands, back, go on the favoured foot, have someone lead up, know exactly that he's a left footer, lead up, hit the target, swing around, inside forward 50. Brilliant play by the Swans.
So big Hayden McLean just played the 9 games last year. 27 goals, 11 in his 32nd game, and he celebrates as soon as he strikes it. Raises the fist into light. And Swans fans will be doing the same at what they're showing this evening. 13-10-88, a 55-point spread. The Suns 5-3-33, 27.5 played in the third term. On Grandstand AFL, your experts are Jeff White and Matthew Primus.
I've just been watching the last 5 minutes and more just watching the Suns, and while body language isn't everything, their body language, I don't contradict myself, has been really poor across the whole ground. There's a lot of walking, watching, individuals just, you can see in their minds, they're just worried about their own game, where the Swans, they're up and about. And that last play, as Whitey mentioned, it ended up going inside 50, 3-1. One Suns player trying to defend 3 guys. Easy handball, and it was an easy uncontested mark inside 50. Really concerning the Suns' body language, with there's no scoreboards going against you, but show some energy. It's round 1. You should be full of life and vigour, and the Suns are the complete opposite at the moment.
Only 40% in the Suns forward half, 60% in the Swans, but they'll win the clearance here through Ainsworth, and it's a long kick towards the pocket and thumped over the boundary line by that man again, Dane Rampy. just absolutely controlling things in the back line for the Swans. Be a throw in the right forward pocket for the Suns. They're trailing by 55. Jared Witts, who's trying to carry his side, will go against Laddams, who's had a great night tonight. He slaps it down. Once again, the Swans with the numbers. Campbell can't control it. Picked up in a quick snap, and it is an absolute beauty.
Touched.
Oh, it was touched off the boot. Braden Fiorini threw the hands up, and I got a bit excited as well. 5-4-34, plays 13-10-88. We're back to a 54-point margin.
So Blakey stands at the top of the defensive goal square, like he wasn't going to play on. He played on from every single kick-in he had last year. And he lopes away from fullback here and sends it long to the outer side wing. McLean and McDonald were there for the Swans. Tall timber there too in Ballard and Farah for the Suns, and they forced the neutral on the outer side.
That was an amazing stat you just said.
It's a great stat, isn't it?
From
every time.
Every single one.
Wow.
He was one of 2 players in the competition to do that.
But with the depth of his kicks as well, added to that 30-metre play on. But 100 metres every time he gets the
It's not only the way he kicks the ball, but just his pace to get it to break the lines.
476 metres gained tonight for Blakey from 15 kicks, so
not bad.
It's going, it's a pretty good strike rate.
And you can see why they use him quite a bit, especially if he can cut those 45 and split the defence. And
part skill set, part instinct, that role for Nick Blakey, and he does it with aplomb. He's really made it his own in that Swans defence. Ball thrown, forced back over the boundary line, so it'll be thrown in on the Nerang River wing. Swans by 54, ricochets around and socket from Ballard, back to Warner on the AFL logo outer side. Steadies and senders the kick inside forward 50. Couldn't be marked by Collins. Ballard socketed off the ground to clear the area. Rowell picked it up. Awkward kick off the instep. Chol stretching, juggling, not marking in the end. Campbell did well. He's been prolific this evening. And then he's dragged down in the tackle by Holman. And we're going to have a ball up forward of centre for the Suns, who trail by 54. 30 minutes played here in this third term.
Only the 2 touches for Mab Chol, one of those contested, but he has had 5 tackles, so he's making the effort when the ball's hitting the deck. And once again, the ball hits the deck with Touk Miller tackling his opponent Dylan Stevens into the ground. It's a right half forward for the Suns, desperate for a score here. Witts guides it down. Dylan Stevens at ground level gets involved for the Swans. That means they've got the ball again. That gives it to Rowbottom. Tackled by Flanders. Ball's stuck amongst them as Rowbottom picks it back up and is tackled by his opposite, number 8, and Braden Fiorini. So another ball up at right half forward. Throw a blanket over 20 players as Warner picks it up and kicks it long down the line. It bounces freely for Collins. Franklin on his tail, so Collins belts it back down the wing. Parker grabbed it and then ducked his head and got the handball away. It didn't work out for him though. Fiorini has it. Handball back to Rowell, who chips it inboard and finds Ainsworth.
Yeah, Suns free kick in any case. Ainsworth infield to Lukosius, playing up on the wing. Only had the 8 disposals before this. Hands it off. Kick inside the forward 50. Holman collects, backtracks, swivels, snaps. That is an extraordinary finish. Nick Holman collected it on the half volley, spun on a dime, and hooked it over his shoulder for a very classy goal. The 6th for the Suns, 6-4-40. They narrow the gap to 48 points once more. The Swans 13-10-88. 32 minutes played in the third term.
They have worked hard all night for their goals, though, and the Swans have certainly defended them really well, but there hasn't been anything that's flowed easily, and they haven't kicked any nice goals that you'd say with your highlight tape come during the week. Everything's been hard work there, but Holman certainly gets his goals through that way. He works hard up and down the ground, and a bit of reward for his hard work tonight.
And that'd be good. That's the review that the Swans will look at as well, is how are they getting there? How are they kicking their scores? And if it's that sense, isn't it? It's not free flowing at all. It's some of it's been the Swans' turnovers. So
back into the middle. There's only a second or so to go. It's taken there by Laddams, but that will do us. 3/4 time here at Carrara, and it is the Sydney Swans who led by 21 points at quarter time. They led by 29 at half time. They lead here at 3/4 time by 48 points. 13-10-88, plays 6-4-40. Your goal scorers, well, the Swans, they've got 13 of them. There's plenty. Multiple goal scorers in Franklin with a couple. Tom Papley's got a couple. Logan McDonald with a couple. Then you've got singles to McLean, Stevens, Heaney, Cunningham, Mills, Goulden. For the Suns, it's a lot easier. There's only 6 of those guys. And we've got David Swallow, Noah Anderson, Flanders, Jeffrey, Ben King with his first goal back from an ACL, which was a ripper and a rare highlight for the Gold Coast Suns.
Nick Holman finishing things off in that term with just the second left before the bounce to end the quarter. So 3-quarter time, the Swans have broken it open, and well, they're looking every bit as imposing as they were in 2022 here tonight. 13-10-88 Sydney lead the Suns 6-4-40. Final term after this on ABC Radio, News Radio, Sport Digital, and via the ABC Listen app. This is Grandstand AFL.
Hello, I'm Patrick Stack, and if you like great stories and you enjoy sport, then I reckon you need ABC Sport Daily in your life.
It felt good to be fast, but I'm only fast on the track. So once I leave the track, I tend to walk slow and do everything slow. So it's a totally different.
Winning that first one is still the first one, and there's nothing like the first time.
Look, I don't virtue signal at all, Patrick.
Fins up and dream big.
It's a daily sports conversation, and it's called ABC Sport Daily. Find us on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Now a chance for Davies. It opens up, sends it inside the 50. King went past it, touched off the hand, found its way to Chol, throws it on the boot to full forward. Jeffries, a play, a snap, a goal. Joel Jeffrey kicks the Suns forth and closes the gap once more.
The Suns have brought it back in very, very quickly. It was cut off right on the arc of 50, and now it's in the hands of Lloyd, 55 from goal. And now Jake Lloyd, is lining up as if to shoot for goal, and then he changes his mind and just drills it to a vacant space occupied by Oliver Florent. 45 out directly in front. Takes his time, he's off the long run too. Let's go from right on the paint of 50. Delightful. Absolutely picture perfect kick. It's Luke Parker, he battles along, gets the ball taken off him, then still toes it through. Again, it's off the deck. Errol Goulden gets it, has a bounce, gets onto that trusty left of his. Oh, it's a big one. It bounces. It's a goal. It's absolutely going to kill the Gold Coast Suns.
Kick inside the forward 50. Holman collects, backtracks, swivels, snaps. That is an extraordinary finish. Nick Holman collected it on the half volley, spun on a dive, and hooked it over his shoulder for a very classy goal.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital,
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Final change here at Carrara on a Saturday night. Great you can be with us on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, via News Radio, and of course via the ABC Listen app in season 2023. Joel Peterson, Michael Price, Matthew Primus, Jeff White and Jess Stewart with you here at Carrara. And it is the Swans by 48 points at the final change at the Melbourne Cricket Ground this evening. A big win to start 2023 for the Demons. One of those sides right in premiership contention. 17-13, 115 to the Western Bulldogs, 9-11-65. Ben Brown kicked 4 for the D's. Cozzy Pickett kicked 4. Max Gawn kicked 2. And Charlie Spargo kicked 2 for the Dogs. Jack McRae had a goal to go with 33 disposals. Tom Liberatore a goal to go with 32. And Adam Treloar a goal to go with 32, but picked up a late injury for the Dogs. So a little bit of concern over Adam Treloar's fitness heading forward. But a big win for Melbourne. They look to be right in the premiership mix. And after finishing runners-up last year, this Sydney side that leads by 48 points at three-quarter time, Jeff White and Matthew Primus, looks like they might be right in the mix as well.
Yeah, they're ready to go. They've obviously had a terrific pre-season. Found a couple of players that you mentioned it before, Joel. That Dylan Stevens, he's moved really nicely up through the off half back and through the wing. But look, they look fit. They've played a couple of styles of footy when they've been allowed to, or they've chosen to. They've played really quick, outnumbered, used their hands really well with some beautiful inside 50 entries, and then when the Suns are lifted a bit of their intensity, as we all know, the Swans are happy to get in a scrap and go toe-to-toe too until they wear you out, and then they get running again. So, yeah, they've been outstanding tonight, and the Suns have been really disappointing for 3 quarters so far.
It just feels that when any time the ball goes near a Swans player, they're either picking up clean, little toe pokes that we've mentioned throughout the broadcast, and then the ability to set and have poise. There was a possession over there just right near the end of third quarter where Chad Warner got it. He's only been around 3 years. Grabbed the ball, had an option to go hand pass it, someone come past, and then the poise just to lower his eyes, hit the target going inside forward 50. The Suns just don't have that at the moment. They feel like they're rushed. And that's that pressure. They feel like they've got that pressure behind them. The pressure's coming from different angles, and they just look super. They just looked out of sorts. They haven't had their intensity. They had their intensity a little bit in the second quarter.
Yeah, nowhere near long enough.
Nowhere near long enough where, and you can't talk about the heat being a factor or anything like that. It's just the level of efficiency and the quality of the ball use from Sydney has been outstanding.
They're outnumbering Sydney. We've spoken about how it looks like they have extra players. It's just pure work rate. They're working harder to get more numbers to every contest than the Suns are, and that's what's giving them some easy inside 50s.
They won 10 on the bounce to end last season before the grand final, Sydney. And in that vein, they've picked up where they left off. They have been ultra impressive this evening. As we start the final term, Witts gets the tap and the Swans will take it out of the middle. Good to see McInerney back out there for Sydney, starting on the outer wing. Launches a right foot kick up the line, straight into the hands of the first gamer, Bodie Hewlin. Have we seen his game tonight, gents?
He's been solid. Look, he's been under super pressure, a lot of inside 50s, but he's shown a bit of things for a first gamer.
Almost turns it over as soon as I ask the question. And then Darcy McPherson's dragged across the boundary line. He got legged, in fact. Did McPherson? Dangerous kick. He set Rowell a task. Cunningham almost charged it down. And then Lloyd charged down Rowell's kick out toward Fiorini. Hewlin's there again, got taken high. And he'll get a free kick defensive side of the wing.
All backs will look really good if there's pressure up the ground, and if there's not, I don't care how good you are, you're going to look poor, and the Suns defenders have certainly been under the pump tonight in that regard.
Hewlin's kick skidded off the turf and bounced up and hit Tuke Miller and into the arms of Chad Warner for the Swans. He takes off down the Nerang River wing. 1 bounce, 2 bounces, and a 9-iron chip to the pocket into the path of Will Hayward. Beautiful footy. He'll have a shot from 30 metres out, or 35, but he's on a very, very tight angle to the right. The boundary line's about a metre from his right leg.
Like that turnover there, you just can't do anything. Defenders, you're one-on-one, all the space back, you can't do anything because of a really simple turnover by the Suns.
So Will Hayward, he's kicked 3 behinds tonight. And he goes with the outside of the right shoe. Accuracy there, but it's off the hands of Charlie Ballard, in fact. And it will be a behind. So 13-11-89 plays 6-4-40. Back to a 49-point margin here at Carrara in favour of the Swannies.
A couple of his behinds have been pretty outstanding. The snap that hit the post and then the toe poke on the line. Free kick in the marking contest going to Chol.
It was downfield actually because Buddy cleaned up Ballard.
I think Buddy was a bit frustrated that Chad Warner didn't kick the footy to him and kicked it to Hayward instead.
Yeah.
He had a few words to him after he delivered it inside the 50.
It was a simple lead up for him to hit, wasn't it?
Yeah, they've developed a bit of a connection, of course. Warner was the player that delivered it to Franklin Lace out for goal 1000 at the SCG. Warner's such a beautiful user of it inside the arc on most occasions. Ball at half forward for the Suns here. Swans by 49 points. Slapped inside the 50 for Gold Coast. Rowell throws a boot at it. Tom McCartan fisted toward the behind line and into the behind post. Or into the goal post, I should say, in the end. So margin back to 48 points. 13-11, plays 6-5. 3 minutes played, final term. Grandstand AFL on your Saturday night from Carrara.
And the Swans to bring the ball back in. Jake Lloyd just ambles up the middle of the field, kicks it long to the outer side, off hands into the hands of Chad Warner. Now to the run of Hayward. Long kick inside 50. Collins has to go towards the ball to cut it off. It stays in though. Franklin did beautifully to keep the ball in. He battles and he gets tackled without the ball. But he did beautifully. He's going to have a shot from 45 out. Tight angle to the right. but it'll be perfect for his arcing left foot.
And he took out Collins in the meantime.
He did, didn't
A
he?
bit he had a bet each way, didn't he, buddy? He was in no right to win that contest.
Normally the angle he doesn't like this, which is weird for a left footer, isn't he? Over his career, he's been better on the other side.
So he's standing on the boundary line, 55 from goal.
Been impressed with his work rate tonight. When it's gone inside forward 50, he's been a menace. He's made sure that those defenders have worked for their possessions.
He's going to arc back on the left. He does so now. Oh, he dummies around, and it comes off the side of the left boot. 30 from goal. Suns get first, hands to it by Ben Long. Coming in again was Mills. He gets tackled. Handball back to Cunningham. And the Wagga boy puts it through 4-1 behind. That's 2 for 1 week there, Joel. 13-12-90. Play 6-5-41. Riverina references we're talking. 49 points the margin as Darcy McPherson plays on and puts it close to the boundary line. Laddams bangs it over there. We'll get a throw in.
The Suns have just had so many players that have rushed their kicks. Inefficiency, decision makers. The decisions tonight have been really, really poor. That one from Darcy McPherson was just a nothing kick.
Oh, actually,
it's the replay on the big screen of Franklin's shoulder collecting. Looked to be Sam Collins in the jaw. One of the contests. Mills dives in on top of it at half forward for the Swans. Laddams extricates to Rowbottom, who swings it on the boot inside forward 50. McLean came out and laid down McPherson. Hayward, wonderful take from Hewland. Picked off the handball. Now to Miller. Ran himself into traffic in the end, or got run into it really by the handball. And Tom McCartan was there as the last link in the chain of the Swans' defence. Handball to Lloyd, handball to Paddy McCartan. He shifts it across half back and finds McInerney, who's right on the paint of the defensive 50 on the outer side. Chisels his kick up the outer wing. Finds Hayward. They cut the angle back into the corridor for Florent. The overlap run from McInerney. And then the kick to half forward let him down. Looking for McLean. It's out and over the line. It'll be thrown in at the junction of the 50 and the boundary. Swans into attack and lead by 49 early stages final term.
Do you reckon they'll have a look at the Buddy thing? Because Pickett was reported tonight.
That will be looked at. Now, Buddy's, the shoulder has hit
similar.
It's hit Sam Collins in the head with the point of Buddy's shoulder. It will be looked at. I'm not sure whether it'll be guilty or not. But anyway, the inside attacking 50 now. Warner has it. Tackled by Ballard as he kicks it towards the goal square. And once again, the first gamer in Hewland puts his body in, takes a nice defensive mark. This is disposal number 16 coming up for him at 87%. Not a bad start. Or he measures that one to perfection.
Well, the Swans had one in the first quarter, so it's even it up.
It felt like it was a foot over the boundary line, to be honest. Flanders took it, kicks it long down the line. It was well done by Jeffrey, who provided the contest with Holman. But the Swans, through both Blakey and Dean Rampy, who goes off for a well-earned rest, put it over the boundary line.
He's been outstanding tonight. Well, I think we've mentioned that quite a number of times.
24 disposals for Dean Rampy. And just directing traffic beautifully.
Thrown back in. Wits down toward Miller. Rowell just bullocks his way through. Tough stuff from Matt Rowell. Fed it out to Flanders. And the young fella from Fish Creek kicks it out of bounds on the full. Paddy McCartan will bring it back into play. He's one of 3 former number 1 overall picks out there tonight, McCartan. Rowell and Swallow in that club as well. And now Lloyd. He's really carved out a nice career. Played his 200th in the grand final last year, Jake Lloyd, off the rookie list out of Horsham, Western Victoria. Kicks long down the line. McLean the target. Ballard worked him under it. Buddy ran over it. On the AFL logo broadcast side, Witt, a crafty little kick around the body, finds Lukosius. New territory up on the wing for Lukosius tonight. Chisels a kick inside the forward 50, through the legs of Ainsworth. Great tackle, Chol. Another really good contest from Matt Chol. He dispossessed McInerney, wasn't rewarded, but dragged it to a neutral. Ball up 40 out from the Suns' goal.
That's also another attention to detail. Just a smother on the mark there from the Swans player.
Ball up, comes off hands. Davies can't get it. Tuke Miller can. Handball to Wits from a standing start. The big man, lucky to hit right shoe. He kicks it out of bounds on the full from 20 metres out. he had a crack. Jeff Stewart on the boundary.
Well, Sam Collins has gone down to the rooms after that collision, you'd have to think, with Buddy Franklin. It looks like he was quite angry having to go down to the rooms. The doctor has marched him almost in, like he was in trouble, a schoolboy in trouble. So getting a head injury assessment, no doubt.
Come and see the principal, Sam Collins. Just about should have put it over the PA or something. Sam Collins to the principal's office, please. Long kick outside the defensive 50 here from Lloyd. Up the wing for the Swans. Franklin paddles it in front of himself. Hayward tries to do the same. Franklin took Flanders to ground. And then Rowell got his kick away, but only to Blakey, who stands between the wing and left half back for the Swans. They lead by 49. 90 plays 41. 9 minutes played final term. Nick Blakey up the line. Heaney did enough to take it out of the hands of Long, and then out the back to Parker, to McDonald, who's hardly hit his boot. He got caught in two minds between having the shot and passing it off. Hewland had a fumble on the last line, got rid of it. In fact, it was McPherson who kicked it to Hewland, picked up by Hayward, flying shot, goal for Will Hayward, who's worked very hard for his three behinds before that, and puts the cherry on the cake for the Swans with that one. 14-12, 96 Sydney. The Suns 6-5, 41. And Hayward adds his name to an ever-growing list of goal kickers for Sydney.
That's just a difference there. And Darcy McPherson's coming off now, and I reckon that's a message that they've sent the runner. You got the possession, switch the play. All the numbers are on this side. Don't try and screw it around your body. Take it on, and that's where it'd end up. That's the difference. Well, it's a massive difference. The ability just to get on that, like
the composure,
no composure tonight.
And that's what I said pre-game.
Poor decisions.
The halfbacks they're missing. He's not a halfback, Darcy. They're trying to because he has to fill a role, but he's not good enough to be able to play halfback as yet. And they're missing that Powell, Weller, Lemons guys, and then they've been exposed tonight with their small halfbacks for sure.
Sydney have had the ball in their forward half 63% of the time.
Yeah, that doesn't help either.
Doesn't help. Errol Goulden, skills on the right foot, chips it inside 50 through hands. Swans are going to have a chance at numbers on the deck. Is Harry Cunningham, can't quite pick it up. Well done by McInerney, who got in. Tackled off the ball there by Hollands. Now Rowell, handball there, goes back to Constable. Now in the hands of Ainsworth, he's tackled as he chips it forward. There's a good physical contest on the wing. Ben King did well against Tom McCartan, but then turned it over. Handball to Errol Goulden into the corridor. Harry Cunningham from a standing start to a dangerous spot, and Buddy Franklin has pushed Charlie Ballard out, and Ballard lets him know about it as well. Gets a free kick right in the last position, full back.
Hands it off to Farah. Slices his kick up the line, looking for Witts. Off hands, roved by Jeffrey. Suns out here, they've got numbers ahead of the football. Chol marks between the wing and half forward. On the left boot, puts into the path of King, who runs headlong into Blakey. Slapped it out cleverly. Ainsworth picks it up and slides through the goal. And the whistles from the crowd preempt the trumpet to signal the 7th for the Suns. Margin back to 49, and it's just about the best piece of transition footy we've seen from them for the night. 12 minutes played in the last.
Yeah, you're exactly right there. I was taken just towards the end of the game to get any kind of movement from one end of the ground to the other. They're able to get some link up there, some uncontested ball, but that's
Chol nearly stuffed it up though.
That was the worst possible kick. To three options, kick it to the fourth.
Yep, and then that's been systematic of their night, haven't they? Their options going forward, but the Swans have not put the cue in the rack, but have easing up a little bit here. But yeah, that's as you say, Whitey, the ability to go inside 50, then a simple decision to make, and nearly stuffed it up.
Plus 76 in disposals, the Sydney Swans, 58-33 as far as inside 50s go. It's been a bit of a lesson, and the usual suspects, Warner, Stevens, Goulden, Lloyd, Rampy, doing it beautifully. And Tuke Miller, well, he's fought his way back for the Gold Coast Suns, 23 disposals. Jared Witts has been trying hard all night with his 23, and Matt Rowell now joins him on 23, but it's been few and far between for the Swans as Chol goes in the ruck. Rowell now with another one. extracts it and kicks it inside 50. That's a good juggling effort. Not paid. Yes, it was. Nick Holman right on the arc of 50. He wheels around onto his left foot, lowers the eyes and tries to find Ben King. Went through his hands. At ground level, the hands come back to King. He's buffeted off the ball. Now the Swans with another chance. Florent can't pick it up. It was nicely picked up there by Elijah Hollins. Has a snap from 25. Kicks it behind. 7-6-48, plays 14-12-96. Back to a 48-point margin. Just Stewart's on the boundary.
Collins just came back up to the bench with the doctor doing a thumbs up to the bench in their direction. So perhaps a good sign that he's all good after that HIA.
But sometimes why numbers are deceiving. You mentioned there, Powell and Miller, they're top possession getters. But yeah, I haven't noticed them tonight. You know, getting contested ball, but there's no easy ball for them at all.
Long clearing kick for the Swans defence. Going to come back in here through Constable. It's a full forward. Awkward landing for Davies, who's pulled up a bit sore. Mills had it inside the defensive 50. Clever tap on from Lloyd to Parker, the outside of the boot out wide to Cunningham.
Been a few of them tonight, hasn't there?
Yeah, just so clever.
Playing on instinct to the Swans. Low kick up the line. It's read nicely. There's another one. McDonald over the top. Got it to Parker. Parker on by hand now to Hayward. Hayward 52 metres out. Breaks the paint of the 50. Spears it to the pocket. Buddy was dragged off it. No free kick. Heaney wanted a free kick for deliberate. And just falling across the line, ball in hand, was Farah. And we'll have a throw in right forward pocket. Swans deep into attack and they lead by 48.
Buddy was the target, didn't quite drag it in. The throw in now. Well done by Chol, who took the ball out of the ruck, tackled, still gets the kick away. Long kick towards the outer wing. McLean spoiled at the back. Rampy yet again. He cleans up for the Swans. The handball to Mills. Mills turned it over though. It's coming back now for the Gold Coast Suns. Flanders gave the ball to Jeffrey, who duly dropped it. The Swans have got it on the outer wing. Jake Lloyd. Handball back to Paddy McCartan. Off a standing start, he kicks it to the arc of 50. Rao buffeted off it. Now Anderson, handball back to Constable. Long kick down the wing. King gets into the back of his opponent. Swans have the ball. Braden Campbell now, inside 50. It bounces between two Suns, through the hands of Buddy, and they're going to get it out though, the Gold Coast. Could have got a free kick there. And it's Ben Long who's going to take it and kick long down the wing and turn it straight over to Paddy McCartan. Jess Stewart's on the boundary.
Matt Roberts has been subbed for the Swans. Not sure at this stage who he has been subbed into the match for. I'll keep you posted with that one.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. Been standing on the boundary line for the last couple of moments. 50 metres here for encroachment on the mark. It's going to take McInerney up toward half forward. I was going to ask the fact that Roberts hadn't been subbed into the game, whether coaches will definitely use it as a tool, given they don't need a reason to. They can just do it at their leisure. McInerney flares it out wide. Lloyd gets to 49, cruising all the way down the ground and finishing in style. Jake Lloyd, game 201, goal 34. He doesn't get up there often, but he finishes nicely when he does. And Sydney raises the bat by cracking the ton. 15-12-102 to the Suns. 7-6-48. 16 and a half minutes played here in this final term.
I just not only impressed with the skill level tonight from the Swans, but also their ability to laterally use their vision, turn their heads, spread. So many options and so many cheeky kicks that they've been able to do and put it in favour of their teammates. It's been an outstanding performance. Really impressed with their skill level tonight from the Swans.
It's been that style of play's been great to watch, hasn't it? Whether that's a thing they're trying to do against the Suns or hopefully something they're going to bring all year, because it certainly opens up to a lot of their runners and skillful guys off half-back and in the wing.
It just forces the pressure.
Defend.
It's hard to defend.
Yep.
And it feels like the Suns are just kicking it. Well, as soon as I get it, just kick it.
Well, they're under pressure. This will be a free kick to Matt Rowell, who won the clearance, but 24 possessions, he's 20 of those contested, and so he's operating at 50%. So the pressure is on every time he gets the ball. Long kick though. Mab Chol at centre half forward did a 360 before he handballed it back to Witts. Now it goes to Anderson, lowers the eyes, good pass. Oh, Davies drops what he should have taken. He picks it up, has a ping though.
It summarises the night, doesn't it?
And kicks it behind. Yeah, it was just pretty well. It was actually Sam Flanders. Sorry.
Dropped it.
Yeah, it's just been Well, it wasn't what the level that we expected the Suns to be producing, considering all the chat in the off-season.
I think we've all said we thought they were going to go well, but they don't have a trust yet. No one has the trust of what they're going to produce week in, week out, and then tonight's symbolic of that.
Might be a conversation for the post-game, but I wonder if there's some Suns fans that'd be worried watching this tonight as what the year might hold. Lloyd stepped over the boundary line, it'll be tossed in. I mean, you run into a bloody good side in round one for a start.
Well, look at the top tier and the bottom tier, especially at this the crowd's already left, already gone.
So you got Powell, Alice, Lemons, Weller to come back into this team for the Suns. Of course, Bailey Humphrey, their top pick of the draft last year, has got big raps on him as well. And they're still finding their feet with that forward line mix, clearly. But they've been thoroughly outclassed this evening by a red-hot Sydney Swans outfit. Fight for the footy on at half-back. Parker toe pokes it clear of the contest. One thing they have been able to do numerous times tonight, Sydney, is just keep the ball moving and keep it in constant movement. Constable infield. McPherson back to Constable. Whacks it to full forward. Chol was in there. Holman, beautiful hands through the traffic. And all Flanders had to do was finish. And he bends it around the corner and does just that. A couple for Sam Flanders. And a couple of late ones here for the Suns. That takes them along to 8-7-55. The Swans 15-12-102. The margin 47 points as we tick toward time on in the final term. The thoughts of Jeff White and Matthew Primus on Grandstand AFL.
Well, they're finding, a couple of little things there, I suppose. The ball's gone inside 50 a couple of occasions, and they look like they're a bit sharper to kick some goals. Whether that's the Swannies just coming off a little bit in their intensity in their back six there, I'm not sure. But yeah, you're right. They are still finding their forward six. We spoke to Brad Miller before the game, and even he sounded not quite sure how the three tools was going to work, and it obviously hasn't worked. Now that's probably got to do a bit with the delivery and what's coming up the ground there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the next coming weeks if they're going with those three tools there.
Back into the middle. So Peter Adams is the one who has gone off and replaced by Roberts. So he's been replaced in the ruck by McLean for the Swans. The ball gets belted inside forward 50 for the Suns here though. Ainsworth's got a chance from 40. Curls it around. Ben Ainsworth gets his second. There's the didgeridoo as christened by Quentin Hull. 15-12, sorry. Yes, 15-12, 102, plays 9-7-61. It is a 41-point margin now in favour of the Swans, with 21 gone in the final term.
Well, this is what they're looking for, isn't it? The coaching staff are looking for a bit of fight. Can you fight this game out? Can you, even though game's out of reach, can you fight? How much fight have you got in you? Show some signs. Bit of pride in the jumper.
Well, they're also playing, don't forget too, we're still in a battle of the codes here in Queensland. It is a rugby league dominated state, and just been overtaken with interest by the Dolphins, who are now undefeated. And that'll be getting all of the press this week in this part of the world.
Just put the train times up on the scoreboard.
Dear, oh dear.
Carrara, that's a pretty dismal sight.
I've not seen that before.
How quickly can you get home from now? They're on the charge though. Here are the Suns. Warner was bursting through, and he has a flying shot and misses.
I've never seen that, John.
The margin is 42 points, 15-13 to 9-7, just in the side of the scoreboard. And turnover again from the Suns inside the defensive 50. Swans can't capitalise.
Golden, Chad Warner just hunting the ball just then. Hunting.
Goulden's been mentioned as maybe the breakout player of the competition, and he looks every bit of it tonight.
Their intent on the ball and the opponent has been exemplary all night. Coming in now, Rampy. Got the handball away. Good tackle there from Took Miller. Dropped his opponent, and the ball got stuck underneath the pair of them. Umpire will do the right thing as Tom Papley drags himself out of the Carrara turf. Umpire throws it up. 40 metres from the Swans' goal. McDonald got it down. The handball wild. Suns with the ball. Miller now under enormous pressure from Roberts. Just kicks it straight up in the air through the hands of Jared Witts. Anderson. Fiorini tackled as he kicks it forward. Great spoil by Blakey. Put it back on the arc. Davies for the Suns now. Tackled by McCartan, Tom, and well done to Rowell, who's fought all night. Lateral handpass goes to Jeffrey, puts his teammate under pressure. Harry Cunningham against two opponents, but Farah, goes away with the ball for the Suns.
Handball's away to Long, who in stride delivers up toward half forward. Holman for the Suns, almost run down, got the kick away, straight to McLean, who floats across inside defensive 50, having moved into the ruck for the Swans. Offloads by hand to Stevens, who kicks wide looking for McInerney, and it's over and out of bounds for a throw-in.
And their closing speed tonight too, when the ball's in the air going to a Suns player, the ability of the Swans player to press up, force that error.
Two hallmarks of their game last year, Sydney, were pressure and efficiency. The pressure's certainly been there tonight.
And their efficiency's even better than what it was last year.
They've been every bit as sharp, going at 48%, so 62 inside 50s and 30 scoring shots generated from them, and 69% disposal efficiency. Kick toward half forward. Cunningham left it behind. Suns with numbers on the outer side. Left half back, Farah to Hewlin, who's been a bright spot for the Suns tonight. Goes to Miller, and now to Swallow, who's got an AFL logo out of sight.
Chips it forward, finds his teammate. Flanders again, wheels around, it's on the right foot, and that's a nice low penetrating kick straight to the opposition. Blakey drops it duly and gives it, when he gets it back, to Tom McCartan, who kicks long down the outer side. Fisted forward by the Suns, Fiorini takes it back, gives it to Hewlin, disposal number 18 for the young man. His pass looking for Noah Anderson, and McInerney thumps the ball away from the number 2 draft pick from 2019 over the boundary line. We're going to throw in.
The other thing from the Suns' perspective too is they haven't been able to switch the play. They've been really happy to just go back the same line as where the players are, not allow any chance of spread.
McLean beats Witts for the ball. Handball now to Roberts. Over to Parker. Wheels around onto his left. Kicks it down the line. Hewlin tracks the ball back for the Suns, gets his handball away to Elijah Hollins. He's tackled immediately over the boundary line by James Rowbottom. We'll get a throw in on the Nerang River side of the ground, with the Swans leading by 42 points. 25 gone, final term.
North Melbourne, the first winner of the day today, put Adelaide in a big way over Brisbane. Melbourne by 50 points over the Western Bulldogs in the other game tonight. And the Swans doing it comfortably by 7 goals over the Suns here. Long kick to half forward, but Carton couldn't mark after Holland smashed it forward, out for a throw-in.
The crowd tonight, 13,648. I reckon there's about 4,500 of them left. They're all Sydney Swans fans.
They all saw the train timetable and they're making their way to the station. A lot of them. Witts throw at the ball in. Miller keeps on fighting for it.
Oh, Warner.
Warner just spins his way through the contest. Hasn't he? He certainly picked up where he left off last season. 29-2 in a losing grand final effort when they were thumped by 14 goals. Chad Warner's star just continues to rise for this Sydney team.
Best on ground tonight, without getting ahead of myself, Whitey, with your votes. But
short to Miller. Miller now out wide. Oh, Davies had a bit of a nervous moment. Got it to Ainsworth. Got it back. Shoots it goalward and leaves it a little bit short. He just underclubbed there. Did Alex Davies.
I think number 24 might have a say too.
Yep. He might do. So Rampy as well. He's had 24 disposals.
And they've still got players moving down the line. They've still got players moving in position, out of position, trying to provide options from the Swans.
Long left foot from Nick Blakey. That's a beautiful kick towards the logo. Heaney drops what he might have taken, but with less pressure. Kick forward by David Swallow onto the arc of 50, rove by Alex Davies. Sweeping handball finds Flanders, tackled into the ground beautifully by Rampy. Ball spills now. Standing start from Elijah Hollins to the goal square. Chol did the body work, dropped the chest mark. The ball's going to spill out, come back to Noah Anderson. 40 from goal, from the boundary line. He measures it to the top of the goal square. Fisted it to ground level, picked up by Blakey. The Swans still conspiring to get it through. No, they'll just waltz it out. Beautiful kick from Tom McCartan. And so calm.
Poise as well. Just that poise.
Warner to Roberts. Roberts has drawn a bit of praise in the off-season as well. Down the line, Goulden goes upstairs, keeps it in front of himself, and it opens up for Errol, streaming through the 50, shooting it goalward, misses left.
Oh, Errol.
One long-range effort earlier in the night for Errol. John Longmire doesn't look happy on the bench, up 43 points.
He did have several options there, Earl Goulding. Just chose the left of the goalpost, unfortunately. Matt Rowell, 28 disposals for him. He's been trying all night. He gives it to the run of Jai Farah. Long kick in the Chol direction. Couldn't quite hang on. Tom McCartan spoiled. Roving Holman. He's tackled. Got the handball away. They're under enormous pressure. The Swans are just monstering him in defence. And the ball's hacked out of there beautifully and taken by Dane Rampy, who says, look, I've had the ball nearly 30 times. I'll just stop for a while and chip it 20 metres to Dylan Stevens.
They've still got men running down on the 45 as well. Parker.
20 in the first half, Dane Rampy. Career high 32, so he'll fall a little bit behind that in terms of disposals, but his influence has been profound on the contest. Setting them up from the word go. Long kick down the line. Rowbottom did well, knocked it off hands. Warner went through the traffic. Oh, and then he ricocheted forward with his shoulder. Even when he doesn't mean to touch the footy, it comes off for him.
Great
Goulden
kick.
collects it, drops it into the bucket, looking for Cunningham, and Hewland scurrying back, turned at the last moment, slapped the ball out of midair, and found the sanctity of the boundary line in the right back pocket.
He's played well this second half, hasn't he, Hewland?
19 disposals at 74%, 356 odd metres gained.
He's kept competing.
Well, that's all you want from somebody playing in their debut, is to be competitive and not stop. Throw in. Witts gets it down again. Hewland's kick, he just hacked it out. It was under pressure and it was cut off there by McInerney. 45 out, 45 degree angle to the right. He's told by Paddy McCartan to just settle down and take your time. Or is Paddy McCartan lining up for the run past? There's something going on. I think Paddy just waved him away now, said I'm too tired. So taking the time and sucking in the big ones. It's been a attritional night, 85% humidity, very slippery conditions. Towed towards the goal square. Big pack flies. Oh, beautifully done. Harry Cunningham tackled around the neck, being dragged to ground, and kicks his second as he throws it onto his right shoe. Brilliant piece of play. 16-14, 110. Plays 9-7-61, and that's end of section for the Gold Coast Suns from the Sydney Swans.
He would have got the free kick anyway.
Oh, that's a ripper. That's just willing the ball through.
Yeah, well, we were surrounded 4 Gold Coast guys right next to him, and he was still able to shake him off and get his foot to it.
So another one for the Swans. Takes that margin back out to 49. It's hovered around that for much of this second half.
That is Harry Cunningham's 50th goal in AFL. He's 48 before he 48-23. He's kicked 2 tonight, so he's now kicked 50 goals, 23 for his career.
And 11 of them against the Gold Coast. 11
That's
of
a
50.
fair chunk.
Yep, no more than 5 against any other team, and 11 of them against the Gold Coast. So he enjoys playing against the Suns, and move forward for him this year has been productive. The Swans have certainly been productive this evening. Sydney starts season 2023 with a bang. They bounce back from grand final defeat in a big way, and having won 10 on the bounce at the end of last season, the Swans again look like they'll be one of the teams to beat in season 2023. A 49-point win over the Gold Coast Suns, 16-14, 110 to 9-7, 61.
Honour the name by day and by night. Lift that noble banner high. Shake down the thunder from the sky. Whether the odds be great or small, Swans will go in and win overall. While her loyal sons are marching onwards to victory.
Started brightly for the Suns. Noah Anderson with a behind in the opening 15 seconds, but the Swans kicked 5 goals in that opening term unanswered and were rarely challenged from then on. A dominant display on the outside of the contest from Sydney. They mixed skill and speed with efficiency and class, and were too strong for the Gold Coast Suns. Goal kickers everywhere, no one kicking more than 2, and even spreads as the Swans win by 49.
Honour the name by day and by night. Lift that noble banner
16-14, 110 for last year's runners-up. The Gold Coast Suns, 9-7-61. Lance Franklin kicked 2 for the Swans. Both of them came in the first term. They were the opening 2 goals of the game for Sydney. Harry Cunningham kicked 2, including the last of the game. Logan McDonald kicked 2, Tom Papley kicked 2, and singles to Hayward Heaney, Goulden, McLean Mills, Florence Stevens and Jake Lloyd with a long-range effort in the final term. For the Suns, 2 each to Ainsworth and Flanders, a couple of Gippsland boys on the goal-kicking list. Noah Anderson with a goal for the Suns. Nick Holman, David Swallow, Ben King on return, and Joel Jeffrey among the goal kickers for the hosts. 16-14, 110 to the Suns, 9-7-61. The Swans get it done. So a 49-point win here in the other game tonight. A 50-point win at the MCG for Melbourne over the Western Bulldogs. 17-13, 115 to the Doggies, 8-7. 9-11, 65 was the final score for the Western Bulldogs tonight. Impressive performance from the Swans, Jeff White and Matthew Primus. What do you make of all that?
Certainly was. From the outset, for 4 quarters, they'll be extremely happy with that result. Just the level of professionalism, the way they attack the footy, the balance. Noticed a lot when there was a loose ball, there was a one-on-one, but they covered the exits, which is really important. Having balance, not having 2 go to 1 and then you have the hand pass go to the receiver. They were really balanced. They turned their heads. Their ball efficiency was outstanding. To be aware, have that lateral vision of where their players were. So we noticed tonight a lot of toe pokes to the advantage of their player, a lot of tap-ons, and then on top of that, they have the be clean below their knees, quick hands. They're spread from defence, spread to attack. They had it all tonight. And the Suns just felt like they were under pressure the whole time. From the get-go, they felt like they just had to rush it, kick it, rush it, kick it. There was no poise, there was no turn of direction, no switch of play in the back line. They just looked out of sorts, the Suns. Credit to Swans of the way they played, but when they had the ball, they just felt like they rushed it, they kicked it, and they just gave it back in the hands of the Swans, and that's the reason why the Swans won by what they did.
You summed it up beautifully, mate. They were just outclassed in every facet of the game you could talk about, whether it was in the clinches, stoppages, ball movement, team defence, team offence, whatever it was. They were just outclassed over 4 quarters. There was glimpses here and there of the Suns, but nowhere good enough against a... you might think Sydney are a mature team. Well, they've actually got a lot of youth coming through their team, so that's... a lot of the youth are a lot of their better players. So they're just outclassed in all facets, and... not panic stations because it's only round 1, but if you go on their last 2 games, the Giants and then this game here, they're a fair way off the top teams here, the Suns, and everyone's expectations have grown from where they finished last year. And not that they'll be soul searching going this week, but there's a big response needed next week to show that this club is not happy just going through the motions. And it'll be going to be a really interesting week for the Suns.
It felt like they had no game style tonight. Felt like it was lost. It was,
and there's no doubt. Why you mentioned the Suns? The Swans definitely took a lot of time and space away from them. But
they weren't allowed to play their game style.
But they didn't ask enough questions, and you mentioned that during the night. Okay. They didn't ask the Swans. Okay, you might have a shutdown here, but we're going to try and take you on over here.
Yeah,
they just accepted.
Like there was so many occasions where the ball was a loose ball. They get the loose ball, get in their back line, and just bomb it.
Yeah. Instead
of just actually going, hang on a minute, I'll have a look. I'll use my lateral vision. Where's my player? Maybe I'll switch it. The numbers are down that side. All right, I'll take on this player, give the hand pass, break the line, go the other side of the ground. There was nothing like that. There was no urgency.
If you have a look at their heat map of where their possessions actually are on the ground, for the Gold Coast Suns, it's all in the back third of the field. That is where the majority of their possessions were for the entire night, whereas the Swans were taking it basically through the corridor all night. And so, I mean, it's easy to say, yes, one team's going through the middle and the other one's hardly getting it outside their back third, but that's the story of where the disposals were.
But that'll be something John Longmower showed you on the week. Look at us pressing up. We were balanced. We had pressure on the ball, but we had pressure when away from the ball. So the Suns couldn't do anything. All they had to do was kick it, well balanced, get the ball back, kick it.
It's the first 15 minutes is the disappointing. You mentioned, Joel, we're talking about what does round one feel like and how's your thoughts as a player, coach and all those sorts of things. Well, you don't have any, there's no reason why you're off your game, why you're not 100% running both ways, attacking the ball. You're sick of training, you're sick of running laps, playing against each other, all those sorts of things. You just want to get out and play. And they look like they were around 16 and finals were gone, and those first 15, 20 minutes, the Swans were just all over them.
Conversely, the Swans, we were worried about how they were going to
Exactly
respond.
right.
And Joel articulated that beautifully before the game. And
they were ready.
How's that response?
They were ready to go, and they mean business. Are going to try and get back to where they got to last year, but the Suns were just miles off it.
Your point about youth, Matty, 13 players in this Sydney team tonight, so 13 of the 23 that played, including Roberts, the sub, 24 or younger.
Yeah, and usually you say, oh, the Suns, well, because they're youth, but that's gone out the window now. Yeah, they are in certain areas, but so are the Swans. And so nobody's going to cop that anymore, and they don't cop it either themselves. It just gets talked about. But you're exactly right. They've got a great demographic there. The Swans have got some mature guys who have been there and done it all, and we still want to win a flag to finish off their careers. And then they've got this youth coming through with some of their names at the top of the stats board and those sorts of things there. That, geez, they look like some terrific players.
Well, you think about Goulden's been sort of touted as the breakout star. McInerney's the really good young player at Sydney that no one talks about.
No,
he is a gun off half back, and everyone thinks about the other players that they've got there. And then Dylan Stevens, who cemented his side at the back end of last year. He played senior footy at Norwood before he came across. He played really well in regular senior action at Norwood. He was ready to come in and contribute. Couldn't crack into the side for a couple of years. 27 disposals and a goal for him tonight.
Yep.
So there's still upside in this Sydney team.
No doubt. There's still a lot of growth to come through. And to keep getting back to finals and going further, you need young players coming through and people taking their chances. And Sydney has certainly got that. And that's got to do with their whole system, how they go operate, teaching their players to play the game in the right way.
Certainly, I mentioned it during the call in the latter stages, and you touched on it quickly earlier. If you're a Suns fan, are you worried about the performance tonight? Is it just try and keep things in perspective after round one?
Well, you try to, but Suns fans have seen too much of that. And today I was with my coaches at Southport, and most of us backed the Suns, but we all then said, but I don't trust that it's going to happen. It should, and I think it will, but I don't trust. And that's what we're all like. We don't trust it, and then they put a performance like this. And once again, it's round one, and it's not blowing the joint up or anything, but that's not acceptable for them anymore. They've gone past that, and unfortunately they brought that up when there is no reason that they played with their intensity like that in the first 15-20 minutes.
The most disappointing part from my perspective on the Suns tonight is there was sometimes, Pricey, we've done this a long time, and so have you, Matty, we've seen glimpses where we've gone, hang on a minute, that was beautiful play. Yes. Wow. They got the ball, they took a risk inside the corridor, they played on, they had rush. It felt like they were just playing down the line tonight. They had no flair, they had no rush, they didn't take the game on. And when they tried to play on, they made the wrong decisions. I just felt that the decisions that some of the ball carriers had tonight was really, really poor. Really poor. And I don't want to say round one because, you know what it's like, Matty. You can be belted and then, we'll fire up and go again next week. No, you've got to address this. You've got to address this right now. And I know it's a long season, but you want to make this a fortress too. This is their home ground. You want to make this a fortress. And the Gold Coast people, they won't. There's so much to do up here because of the weather. If the Suns are not winning, they're not turning up, So I was disappointed the way they played tonight.
Can't win your season in the opening few rounds, but it can sure slip away from you in a hurry if it takes the wrong turn. Let's go down into the Sydney rooms and soak up a bit of the atmosphere with the winners by 49 points. Pretty happy with their work tonight, the Swans. They'll go back to Sydney tomorrow, a very happy team. We've got about 7 minutes before we're out of here on Grandstand AFL, so we'll try and get some reaction from the Swans camp if we can 49 points the final margin of victory here. 16-14, 110 the Swans to the Gold Coast. 9-7 at 61. Too many goal kickers to mention for the Swans. Melbourne winners by 50 at the MCG. In the National Rugby League today, the Gold Coast Titans winners over the Melbourne Storm 38-34. The Warriors 26 over North Queensland 12. And the Brisbane Broncos turned it on in the late stages, 40, defeating St George Illawarra 18. So a big win to the Broncos. Tomorrow in the AFL, GWS and Adelaide, Hawthorn and Essendon, St Kilda and Fremantle. And in the NRL, Bulldogs and West Tigers do battle. And the Raiders take on the Sharks in the late game of the day as well. So plenty to come. Of course, you can catch all the action, both your footy codes on the ABC Listen app. You can look for the NRL button, or of course the AFL and the AFL Extra buttons on the ABC Listen app to catch all of Grandstand's coverage, whether you're after Andrew Moore and the team or part of our AFL coverage. No matter where you are, you'll be able to get it right across the network. 49-point win to the Swans. Nice to see plenty of people have hung around for the kick-to-kick here at Carrara. Nice night to be out there kicking the footy. I would have thought it'd be nice and cool out there as we venture out very shortly. We'll be enjoying some of that. So for the Suns tonight, we talked about, I guess, the team effort. So Miller and Rowell have both had 29 and 28. Interesting, Charlie Constable's had 26 disposals, 23 kicks. First game, new position off half-back, trying something different for the ex-Cat, who struggled to crack into the midfield in the last couple of years, and he certainly had plenty of it tonight. But, plenty of territory gained, hopefully maybe under a little bit less pressure in games to come for him.
Well, and not much experience around him with the other small backs, as we spoke about through the night. But yeah, I'm not sure how much came of his meet his name, but he definitely got it out of his back half and into the forward half, and kept on trying to take on the game, but didn't have enough supporters around him in that back half. But that'll be something they progress with him, and until some of their quality guys come back from injury in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, yeah, bit to like about it though. Obviously, Constable Jared Witts tried his heart out. We talked about Hewland, who was okay as well, but the interesting part is, and we talked about that forward six also, I mean, a tactical substitution to change that up was an interesting little wrinkle that it clearly wasn't working. They needed a little bit more run in the game, and to have the first game of that forward line and go to the tactical substitution to break it up was an interesting little wrinkle thrown in there from Stuart Dew and the coaching team tonight.
Yeah, and it showed that they wanted to give it a go. They gave it, 3 quarters, 2.5 to be precise, something around there. But it's hard, if the forwards are not working together and they're not kicking goals, then it's not, it's sometimes the midfield as well.
Let's go downstairs. Jess Stewart's got Jake Lloyd from the Swans.
Jake, you must be pleased with that, a 49-point win to kick off the season on what was a pretty human night up here on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, absolutely. The boys really come out and responded early. Thought our heat around the ball was really good, and that's what we focused on going into the game. So did get really humid. It was sort of like wet weather footy out there for most of the game. So it was important that we got the ball forward and we won the footy around the contest.
I'll throw you upstairs to the boys in the box. They've got lots of questions they no doubt want to ask you.
Hey, Jake Lloyd, Jeff White here, mate. Well played tonight. I loved you said that you rushed up. You had really good balance in the play. And the efficiency, is it something what was something you worked on in the pre-season? Because your efficiency, your foot skills, and you said it was like wet weather footy, but geez, you guys look sharp tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely something we've been working on. I think it's just important to understand the tempo of the game and how it's being played. Obviously, when it is slippery like that, it can be a bit kamikaze up and down. So when you get the opportunity to take the sting out of it, it's important to control the footy when you can and get it forward also.
And how'd that goal feel, mate?
Yeah, they don't come too often, so it's good to get on the end of one. Party time at the end, but it's always good.
Jake, a lot of talk about the way that your team would bounce back this season. You came out from minute one and were ready to go tonight. It still looks like there's some upside in the group. Dill Stevens, 27 and a goal tonight. The young players keep getting better. Pretty bright things ahead for the Swans, hopefully, in 2023.
Yeah, for sure. I think the most important thing was, off the back of a disappointing result at the end of last year, was the way we come back in pre-season. And those blokes that you've mentioned really led the way from the start. They've been superb all pre-season. They showed it in our practice games. the way they played there, and they've just hit the ground running round one. So it's important they maintain that now, and we keep giving them the confidence to go and play their style of footy.
We're pretty hard up against the clock, so we won't keep you for too much longer, Jake. But when Buddy Franklin had 2 goals in 4 minutes, how many did you think he was going to kick?
Oh, mate, I thought what was his record, 13 or something? I thought that might have been a chance to be working. But no, he was super. It's not just his goals, just his presence in our forward line, the way he gets after the defence and puts that pressure on. It's really important he plays both sides of the footy, and he's super tonight.
Yeah, good on you, Jake. Look, quick chat, but appreciate you spending some time with us on Grandstand AFL. Well done on the win tonight.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Minute left here on Grandstand AFL. The votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Big Matty Promise has taken the lead.
Give it to me in 30
one.
seconds, Matty.
30 seconds. Well, one vote I gave to Stevens. I thought his composure with ball in hand, his ability to run and take on the opposition was really good. 2 to Rampy. More go back to the first quarter when the game was on the line. He was just immovable. They couldn't get past him. 12 intercept marks for the game. And 3 to Warner. My man, 714 metres gain, 8 inside 50s, 14 score involvements. An outstanding game.
Pretty comprehensive for the Swans, and Chad Warner, 3 votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year. Matty and Jeff, thanks very much for your company.
Thanks, Joel.
Good fun.
Thanks, Joel.
All the best for the rest of season 2023. I'm sure we'll cross paths at some point. Thanks to Jess. Thanks, Pricey.
Thanks, Joel.
And thanks to Nee, pushing the buttons here, and Luke in the studio. Big win for the Swans to kick off the 2023 campaign. They do it in style, beating the Suns by 49.